It's okay. See, the code doesn't say nothing against somebody going into business. That's, going into business is just going into business. That's all.
Among the many uncertainties clouding the U.S. economic picture are tariffs, both the prospect of new ones and upcoming refunds from recent tariffs deemed illegal. And there are a number of questions for businesses and consumers alike. Our Stephanie Tsai has more.
In February, the Supreme Court struck down the sweeping tariffs imposed by President Trump under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Now, businesses are scrambling to get their money back. Last week, U.S. Customs and Border Protection started accepting refund claims for $166 billion in tariffs collected over the past year, including from companies such as Basic Fun, which sells toys familiar to many of us, Tonka trucks, Care Bears, and Lite-Brite. The CEO, Jay Foreman, joins me now. Jay, great to have you back on the News Hour. So how much money are you owed? And tell us what the process has been like to claim the refund.
Sure. Well, if all goes well, we've got $7.4 million coming back to us, which we'll use to reinvest in our business and our employees. So far, I have to say the process has been smooth. The CBP set up the portal. The portal operated pretty well. A couple glitches here and there last Monday when we were able to start loading everything in, but we've got all our invoices and claims loaded. And all we're doing is waiting for the magic day when they push the button and actually the money starts to flow back in the form of refunds. That's, at this point, that's what we're waiting for. Everything else is locked and loaded.
Do you have any idea when that button is going to get pushed and how does it come out? Is it just all in one lump sum?
We believe that somewhere in the next 45 to 60 days, maybe 90 days at most. But we haven't been told. There's no posting on the portal that tells you when to expect those refunds to come in. And we're really not sure whether they're going to come in. It's all going to come in one shot, or it's going to, sort of dribble in invoice by invoice. And we've got 560 individual import invoices logged into the computer. We're hoping that it's going to come back in, one lump sum. But we really have no idea right now. We're just, sort of sitting and waiting.
Well, I know that your business basically sells toys to the major retailers who then sell to customers, right? Some of those retailers, as you know, passed on surcharges to customers. You said that you're planning to invest these millions back into the business. Will customers ever reap any benefit from the tariff refunds?
I think in some ways they will. Major retailers that were in the position that they had to pass along refunds if they decide to take the refund, or they had to pass along tariffs. If they decide to take the refund, they've got a lot of opportunities to sort of provide deals and get money back to consumers, in a lot of different ways, whether that's discounting products or giving folks credits. The challenge more is with smaller, medium-sized companies that weren't able to pass those costs along. For us, it just came right off the bottom line. So our plan is really to reinvest this in our business, to pay down some debt, invest in some new equipment, invest in our employees. So I think the most important thing is when this money is returned, it will be invested back into the economy. In some ways through pricing to consumers, and they'll see it. In other ways, it'll go back to companies that can return it to shareholders or reinvest it in their business. It's not quite like shooting a missile off that explodes, and not only do you never see that money again, but you have to replace that missile. When that money comes back into the economy and into the folks that pay the tariffs, it's going to be reinvested into this country, and you'll see an economic boom to the tune of $160 billion or more dollars coming back into the market here.
Were there any losses or business impacts that the refund can't make up for?
Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example. We purchased the assets of a great company called Arcade 1-Up. It's a company that makes, sort of Pac-Man and video game machines that you can put in your home game room. And they got hit super hard, not only by the tariffs, but even before the tariffs, by the supply chain crisis and the cost of freight and transportation and the gyrations in the market around COVID. And in the end, it was the tariffs that really put the nail in the coffin for them, and they weren't able to make it. And so we were able to purchase the assets of the company, keep a number of the employees employed, and bring that product line back to the market. And there are dozens, if not hundreds, of companies in the same situation. People, small businesses, I like to call them the sort of Shark Tank generation, where people that have created basements in their homes and in their garages that are using their own money and their savings to create businesses that don't have leverage to pass those costs along. Those folks really suffered, and that money needs to come back to them, and I'm sure they will be reinvesting all that money back into their lives, into their businesses, and a lot of them just to repay debt that they might have taken on in order to, finance their businesses and support the payment of these tariffs.
Jay, are you confident that there won't be any more tariffs in the future? I mean, do you have to plan your business for the eventuality that they could come back?
Since COVID and the supply chain crisis and this whole tariff situation, we're always planning for a worst case scenario. Right now, tariffs are 10%, which are workable. There are cases going through the courts right now to try to strike those 10% tariffs down. The administration is talking about imposing a different regimen of tariffs, 301 tariffs. So we have to assume that this administration is still looking in some form to place tariffs, whether they stay on industries like the toy business or the government focuses on really strategic industries. That's left to be determined. But, we have to continue to sort of have a chaos mentality that whether it's the administration doing things that are upsetting the market or the world doing things that are upsetting the market, that's the business environment many of us are in right now. And we just have to hunker down and hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
That is Jay Foreman, CEO of the toy company Basic Fun, joining us. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
The Mississippi Delta is known as some of the country's most fertile farmland. But as Delta farmers start spring planting, they are facing drought, tariffs, falling crop prices, and with the war against Iran, higher costs for fuel and fertilizer. Drew Hawkins with the Gulf States Newsroom takes us to the Delta.
We do it by counting the little joints on the stalk.
Sledge Taylor has farmed the same fields in Como, Mississippi for 53 years. The rows of little green corn stalks are ready to be fertilized soon.
But I may not do it this year.
How come?
Price of nitrogen and the low price of corn.
Nitrogen is a critical fertilizer for farmers. About a third of the world's supply passes through the Strait of Hormuz, currently closed amid the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran. Same with roughly 20% of the world's fuel. Taylor says he's been buying diesel in small batches just to get by.
Sometimes we know that we've only got 2 weeks of fuel.
The war couldn't have come at a worse time, Taylor says. It's spring, planting season, when they'll be using lots and lots of fuel and fertilizer. And he says farmers were already struggling. The Trump administration's tariffs, followed by other countries placing retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods, means they haven't been able to export their commodities.
Everybody picks on the thing that's one of our bigger exports, and they quit buying all of our crops.
The Trump administration created a $12 billion Farmer Bridge Assistance Program to offset tariff losses. In a statement to NPR, the USDA says the support is designed to help producers stay afloat. Taylor, a Republican who voted for Trump in 2024, says the one-time payment he received in March covered about 20% of what he lost last year.
If somebody took $100 out of my pocket and then turned around and gave me 20 back, patted me on the back and said they were my friend, I'm not really sure I would agree.
Taylor says his patience with President Trump is wearing thin. And with the increasing costs, he says he's not sure he'll be able to continue farming.
I think there's an old African proverb that says, when elephants fight, it's the ants that get crushed. The ants are getting crushed.
A few miles down the road, Anthony Bland grows rice, soybeans, and corn near Sledge, Mississippi. Unlike Midwest farmers who can rely on rainfall, Delta farmers like Bland depend on diesel-powered pumps to irrigate their fields. This year, the Delta is in the midst of a record-breaking drought, so he's burning through even more fuel at a steep cost.
So right now, I'm paying 60% more for diesel fuel than I would have been paying 45 days ago.
Like Taylor, Bland also received money from the Farmer Bridge Assistance Program. He says enough to cover about a quarter of his tariff losses. But as a black farmer, he's also navigating the Trump administration's DEI cuts that eliminated programs black row crop farmers like him rely on for credit and technical support.
I just have a problem with the way they're treating anybody that doesn't look like him.
With fuel and fertilizer costs still climbing, Bland says that this year is make or break for him.
You talk about the definition of insanity. You keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. Well, with the tariffs on top of the war, we know the results aren't going to get any better.
Delta farmers say they've faced hard times before, but they've not seen markets they rely on fluctuate this wildly. They take pride in how many generations their family has been farming, and nobody wants to be the one that calls it quits. For NPR News, I'm Drew Hawkins in the Mississippi Delta.
Tens of thousands of tech workers across the world have lost their jobs this year. But within this global wave of job cuts, one age group is being hit harder than most: professionals in their 40s and above. The numbers tell a stark story. Last year, nearly 240,000 tech workers were laid off globally. And in 2026, the trend is continuing, with over 73,000 jobs already cut across 95 companies so far, including firms like Meta, Oracle, and Microsoft. But layoffs are not hitting every age group in the tech workforce uniformly. Data reveals that higher-paid mid to senior professionals, many of them in their 40s and 50s, are more exposed to job cuts. One key reason: their high salary levels. A key workforce study shows that companies often cut costs by trimming higher salaries first, and that often overlaps with age. Last year, 64% of workers aged 50 and above said they had experienced age discrimination, and 22% said they felt pushed out specifically because of their age. There's also a shift in how layoffs are happening. Instead of one-off decisions, many companies now rely on structured, data-driven models. Now, these systems look at cost to company, role relevance, and impact on revenue generation. The further a role is from directly generating money, the more vulnerable it becomes when a company decides to cut jobs. And that's why a specific profile is emerging during layoffs. They are mid to senior individual contributors, middle management roles, and support functions such as HR and marketing. Well, these roles are critical to a company's operation, but they're often harder to link directly to revenue. And in cost-cutting cycles, that makes them easy targets. In fact, surveys from recently laid-off workers reveal that up to 44% of companies have already reduced management layers, and 20% of organizations may cut over half of middle management roles by the end of 2026. And all this is happening at a time when the job market itself is turning uncertain, with multiple economic pressures still playing out.
For the coming months, it's unclear where we're heading, because we have this shock to oil prices and energy prices and increases in some other prices. We're not sure yet how consumers respond, and therefore yet how work and jobs will respond in the coming months. But it's probably not going to be very pretty.
Well, this uncertainty is also changing how people are approaching their careers, especially those who are now out of work or trying to re-enter employment.
The job market terrain is a little bumpy, and therefore over the next few months, it may not be all that encouraging for people that are looking for work. Having said that, there's a trend called job hugging, so the people that have jobs are probably going to stay in those jobs and not necessarily lose those jobs. But where the horizon is not as favorable for people that are starting to look for work or that are looking to return to the labor force.
For older workers, the challenge doesn't end with layoffs. Getting back into the workforce is harder. Data shows that workers over 50 remain unemployed nearly twice as long as younger workers. Only 55% of those aged 55 to 64 find new jobs within 3 years. And for those over 65, that number drops to just 34%, meaning that 66% of these workers never find a job. And even more striking, 1 in 4 workers aged 50 to 65 never return to work after losing a job. There's also a perception gap at play here. According to a workplace survey, 74% of older workers believe their age is a barrier to getting hired. At the same time, age discrimination complaints are rising steadily year after year, as employers prefer younger and less expensive resources. At the industry level, tech companies are reshaping how they spend money. More investment is now going into artificial intelligence and automation, and that shift is changing hiring and firing patterns. So while layoffs continue across the tech sector, the data shows a clear trend. For professionals over 40, the workplace is becoming more challenging than ever. Well, for more on this, we have Professor Vikas Singh, economist and author, joining us live from Hyderabad. Welcome to the program. So let me ask you first, to what extent is the older age group really seen as an easy target when it comes to companies trying to cut costs?
Good evening to all your viewers, Kerry. Yeah, to a significant extent, but the driver is arithmetic. It's not the intent. A senior individual contributor in their 40s and 50s often costs the company close to about 60 to 90 lakh rupees. However, a mid-level engineer will cost maybe a third or a fourth of that cost. When a client pushes for a 5 to 10% rate cut on a large account, the firm has two choices: either reduce the billing or reduce the headcount. And when it reduces the headcount, the challenge is the risk delivery or remove the non-billable layers and protect the revenues. They obviously pick the second choice. Layoffs are a cost reset, and the 40-plus cohort becomes the fastest lever because they sit on the intersection of high cost and low immediate measurability. In India's service model, finance tracks billings and the margins on a weekly basis. Anything that doesn't show up there is exposed. Inside most delivery units, including TCS and larger firms like Infosys and others, senior ICs, the individual contributors, are not directly billable. They sit in reviews, governance, architecture oversight, client coordination, etc. That work matters, but it's not tied to an invoice. When the CFO asks for a 10% cost reduction this quarter, these roles become the cleanest line items: high cost, low linkages to revenue, quick savings. There is also the pyramid problem. Indian IT runs on leverage: more juniors, fewer seniors. But over time, promotions and lateral hirings inflate the top. In a downturn, firms restore the pyramid by cutting the expensive layer.
Okay, let me just jump in there if I may then. I mean, are companies being short-sighted though? Because you could say that older workers usually have far more experience and can therefore contribute a lot more in all areas of the business.
Yeah, that's true in a way. But when you look at cutting down cost, you obviously look at something that is seen immediately. And, as one CEO of a large IT firm told me a few weeks back, he was saying, Dr. saying, cost is visible every month, value is debated. So cost gets cut. And I agree with you that in the long run, this is not a great idea, but they are optimizing for the quarter. They're not optimizing for the years. In the short run, cutting senior layers improves margin immediately. In the medium run, it erodes capability in ways that are harder to measure, but they're real, but it's very difficult to measure in the short run. Experience shows up where work is uncertain: large deals, complex migrations, crisis situations, pricing strategy. These are not checklist tasks. They require judgment built over years. But when you remove that layer, the system doesn't break instantly. It weakens gradually. But in the short run, they need to showcase that their margins are intact, the business is running as usual. Because of that, the senior people are the ones who are removed or lay off first.
Okay, well, let me ask you then. I mean, is this trend especially affecting the tech sector? I mean, or does it also affect other industries?
It definitely affects the organization in the long run. And you can start seeing it in initially you see it in the pre-sales. Large deals need credibility. Clients want to speak to someone. who has seen this before, removed experienced people and win rates dropped by a few percentage points. That sounds small, but on $1 billion pipeline, it is material. Then it starts showing up in delivery. Projects slip, rework increases, escalation cycle gets longer, young teams can execute well-defined tasks, but when something goes off the script, the absence of experience shows. Over 12 to 18 months, this becomes a client dissatisfaction and churn. Countries like Germany handle it differently. If you compare, let's take the example of Germany, mid-sized firms, the older engineers are tied directly to orders and client relationships, product customization, problem solving on the shop floor. Cutting them would hit revenue immediately, so they are protected. It doesn't happen in India. The difference is not culture between India and the Western world. It is where experience sits in the value chain. In India, the value chain, the experience in the value chain is not in product development or in client relationship, but more in infrastructure or management, and that's easy to cut in the short run.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there, forgive me, but Vikas Singh, thank you very much indeed for joining the programme. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This year's college graduates are trying to begin their careers in the toughest job market since the COVID-19 pandemic. As Joe Schultz reports, experts say it's being driven more by a slowdown in hiring and less by the emergence of artificial intelligence.
I'm actually senior right now. College students from across the country move table to table speaking with employers at a consulting competition at the University of Wisconsin-Madison this spring. That includes Carlos Bello, a UW-Madison senior majoring in international business with a minor in sports communications. He previously interned with the Milwaukee Bucks and the National Hockey League. Bello says he sent out 60 to 70 job applications early this spring, looking primarily in the sports and entertainment marketing industry. But with less than 2 months before graduation, he still hadn't landed a job.
I've been a bit more picky regarding where I'm applying to, but it's still been a struggle, and I've actually been thinking about casting a wider net recently.
There are signs that what's been a lackluster job market for college grads over the last 2 years could improve. That's according to the National Association of Colleges and Employers. A new survey from the association shows employers expect to increase hiring new college grads from the class of 2026 by 5.6%. That's after a relatively flat projection this past fall. Nicholas Jolly is a labor economist at Marquette University. He says the labor market is not nearly as hot as it was in the years after the pandemic, which saw strong job growth as the economy reopened.
We had a very tight labor market post-pandemic. It's now softened as markets have adjusted.
Unemployment nationally and in Wisconsin has remained low, but the rate of job openings has been nearly cut in half since its peak in 2022.
If the overall labor market is getting softer, it stands to reason that it's going to get softer for entry-level jobs as well.
Economists also say uncertainty surrounding shifting tariffs, immigration policies, and the conflict in the Middle East are making some companies reluctant to hire. Jeff Polkowski is the state director for the Wisconsin Society for Human Resource Management Council, a trade group for HR people. He describes the job market as holding steady.
There is hiring going on, but I think with the way the economy is going and some of the uncertainty out there, I think some organizations may be holding back on some hiring.
That comes as some are worried about the impact of artificial intelligence on entry-level jobs. Recent National Association of Colleges and Employers surveys do show the share of entry-level jobs requiring AI skills is growing. That's up from 13% in the fall to 35% this spring. While more jobs require AI skills, Polkowski says it's not clear yet that it's eliminating jobs.
I don't know that it's made up a huge impact yet, but I think it's something that's on the horizon that we're all kind of watching to see kind of when that takes place.
Economists say it's hard to predict how the technology will change the job market in the long run. Students who attended the spring consulting competition on the UW-Madison campus included a mix of seniors with and without jobs and underclassmen looking for internships. Paul O., a senior at the University of Washington Bothell, is looking for jobs related to accounting, sales, or administration. As of last month, he hadn't had any luck.
I think there are still opportunities out there, but hearing from friends who are already in like their career, they're pretty much saying, oh yeah, the job market is not looking good.
Jai Kozar-Lewis, a senior at Michigan State University, does have a job lined up. He called it a relief.
The market is really tough right now. I've had actually a lot of friends that were planning to go full-time, but have now been considering other options, maybe going to grad school just because it's so tough.
Carlos Bello, the Madison student who submitted 60 to 70 job applications, was keeping his head up.
If I do graduate without a job, I don't feel worse about myself in that way. I'm still proud of it. First of all, graduating from the University of Wisconsin, but second of all, I know that an opportunity will eventually show up for itself.
In this slower and yet uncertain labor market, he isn't the only one in the class of 2026 trying to remain hopeful. For the Upper Midwest Newsroom, I'm Joe Schultz in Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
I thought I asked for an African-American to replace Terry.
You requested an Afro-American?
African-American. Jerry, you know I did. I put it in writing.
I didn't see it. You see it?
If you don't like her, you send her back.
Yeah, you tell her you didn't like her performance because she was white.
What? That's not the point.
Flipper, she's been here for 5 minutes. Give her a chance. This sounds dangerously like reverse discrimination to me.
A longtime real estate expert and former government employee is filing a federal lawsuit against Mayor Brandon Scott. He claims discrimination after he was fired from the East Baltimore Development, Inc.
And while people may think that this is because of Donald Trump, the fact of the matter is equal employment opportunity has been the law of the land in the United States for over 150 years.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost sat down with him and his attorney to talk about the lawsuit. Mackenzie is live from the newsroom to explain in a story you're seeing first on Fox. Mackenzie?
Well, Kai, Andy Freeman has worked in the real estate world for decades, and 2 years ago he was promoted to a vice presidential role at the East Baltimore Development Incorporated, but just days later he was fired. Now Freeman and his attorney say race was a factor in his termination and now potentially teeing up a federal showdown in court.
And so I've worked under several administrations here in the city and done. I'm very proud of the work that I've done.
Andy Freeman has called Baltimore home for decades. Once a part-time contractor for the East Baltimore Development Incorporated, or EBDI, Freeman was eventually brought on full-time. And in June 2024, he was promoted to a vice presidential role. When that happened, a black woman was also let go. And days later, Freeman was fired. What happened when you realized that there was a problem for you in your employment?
Well, what was interesting is that I never realized that there was a problem. We were trying to turn things around at EBDI so that we could become self-sufficient, not have to look for funds elsewhere, and I brought the expertise in how to do that in all of my for-profit experience from before. When I was let go on that particular day in June 2 years ago, I was told that I didn't fit in.
What I can tell you is that Andy was discharged, and it doesn't make sense.
Freeman's attorney, Tanya Banya, is a longtime employment lawyer. After filing an EEOC complaint 2 years ago, Banya says they've learned more information.
And based on our due diligence and the investigation that we've done and the evidence that we have, all signs really point to race being the primary. I have been practicing employment law for over 20 years. I've never seen this explicit type of race-based treatment.
In March 2024, Mayor Brandon Scott tapped campaign treasurer and longtime friend Calvin Young to serve as chair of the EBDI board. Freeman and Banya pointed text messages from Freeman's boss, CEO Cheryl Washington, after Freeman was fired, as an example of what they believe is proof the mayor was involved in firing Freeman. Freeman says he received text from Washington writing, "Andy, this decision was not mine, not at all. And the decisions are not mine, but I'm tasked to implement them." Did you ever think that race would be the reason why you believe that you were let go from this position?
Never. I mean, I've lived my entire life looking at people equally, and I was raised that way.
What do you hope to get out of this at the end of the day?
Well, I think accountability, responsibility. Nobody should be treated as unfairly as I had been, and I think that we need to make an example of what it should be, not something like this. Because if you're doing the job and you're doing it well, nothing else should come into play.
As the case begins to unfold, Banya says Freeman's firing is consistent with the Scott administration's broader policies and practices that arbitrarily advantage certain racial minorities and women under the guise of promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion, and disadvantage other people for no other reason than the color of their skin. She says she expects City Hall to fight back, but argues using race as a factor for decisions is not legal.
This is not something that Donald Trump invented or created. In fact, Andy's case came up before Donald Trump was reelected. So that this happens to be on message for the Trump administration is a coincidence, and is Brandon Scott's fault. But at the end of the day, it has always been the case that it's illegal to make decisions as a government entity based on race.
Now, we should note that we did reach out to Mayor Brandon Scott's office for a response to this lawsuit, but so far, we have yet to hear back. Live in the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
A woman charged in the deadly Steak and Shake shooting in North St. Louis County is due back in court today.
Yeah, today, a judge is expected to look at a request to reduce Jada Bell's $1 million cash-only bond. Fox News' Laura Simon live with more on this story. Laura?
Margie and Mike, yes, this bond reduction hearing gets started at 10 this morning. And yes, the judge will be deciding whether that $1 million cash-only bond stays the same or it gets lower. But Jada Bell is charged with first-degree murder, assault, unlawful use of a weapon, and 3 counts of armed criminal action, of course, all stemming from the April 8th tragic shooting at that Steak and Shake on Bell Fountain Road in Spanish Lake. Prosecutors say Chauncia Meekins was working the drive-thru window when a fight broke out between customers and employees. Court records show Bell threw a drink at Meekins, and Meekins allegedly threw it back. Then that's when police say Bell fired several shots through the drive-thru window. Meekins was killed. Another employee was also shot in the hand. Investigators say the shooting was also captured on surveillance video. The St. Louis County Police Department has said there was no known connection between Bell and Meekins before this happened. The case has gotten a lot of national attention, not only because of where it happened, but because Meekins was simply doing her job, and her family laid her to rest a week ago today. Here's what the St. Louis County prosecutor had to say last Tuesday.
It is such a tragedy. This woman was doing her job at Steak and Shake, and the defendant was upset over a food order. There really are no words for this type of violence.
So again, that bond reduction hearing is set for 10 this morning at the St. Louis County Courthouse. We'll, of course, keep you posted on what happens here on Fox 2 and fox2now.com. Reporting this morning live, I'm Laura Simon.
Chauncia Meekins, Context of White Supremacy. Gus T renegade in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the global system of white supremacy. Today's date, Thursday, April 30, 2026. So I have been told. Our weekly forum on neutralizing workplace racism, not for spectators, especially if you have figured out how to survive your work shift without being shot at, stabbed, assaulted, killed. You get through your entire shift, hey, maybe through your entire work week with all your fingers, toes, appendages intact. Safety. You have a safe work environment. Let us know. How did you accomplish this? Did you have to make police reports? Did you use policy and procedure? Did you snitch on people? What did you do to make sure I'm going to get home safely, even if it's just to watch television? I'm going to safely get through this here workday. I'm not going to miss nary a Netflix installment on account of what happened in the workplace. If you figured out how to make that happen every work shift, every week, please share the number 720-716-7300, the code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email address untiljustice@gmail.com. Safety in the work. Now, again, I do remember when we first started here at the Context of White Supremacy, having discussions around the area of labor, economics, however you think about it, and talking about things that happen on the job and ways to protect ourselves, neutralize racism. Frequently, the conversations would drift to black people I can't stand that I work with. Now, we do not enjoy people classified as black. That is a part of Negro culture, really, and a product of the system of white supremacy, to be expected, unfortunately. If I had known that there was data that, wow, there is not just a lot of conflict amongst black people in the workplace, but there is a lot of fatal workplace violence, black on black crime in the workplace, where someone not lost a finger, they lost a life. Chauncia Meekins. If I had known that that is a big problem, we would have talked about this a lot more, and the emphasis being minimize conflict. You do not expect to go into a work environment and have just lots of amazing, wonderful black people that you work with who always are talking about and thinking about constructive things. And they eat healthy and constructive things and talk about healthy and constructive things. That would be an amazing surprise, but you do not expect that going into any work environment. You want to expect, really, name calling, dozens. You old coon, you. Where your grandparents born? Hey, Haitian? Oh, we got it. That's what you should expect. And if it's not that, if it is morning, afternoon, good to see you, sir. Well, called me sir. Thought he was going to call me a coon. Tether. Some other name that ain't on my birth certificate, ain't on my application. Called me sir. Said it again. Wow. Wow. That's amazing. I can't believe that. I'm going to call them sir too. Hey, that is a welcome surprise, but I'm not going to expect that. And even if they do name call and this, that, minimize conflict. Sir, I would appreciate if you would not call me a coon. Well, if you're not going to call me by my name, I just make sure I don't respond. Not escalating, not going to return. And in fact, even if this person is name calling someone else, oh no, I don't participate in that either, because that might easily drift over from today. We snickering and name calling and laughing at Leroy, and tomorrow, all right, it's your turn, Gus T. You say, whoa, this was a lot more fun when we was on Leroy. We ain't gonna talk about, oh Lord, they gonna all day long too. Oh man, see, let's not talk about Leroy. We're not gonna talk about Gus. Let's keep it professional. And hey, again, we don't have to talk. It's a lot of unnecessary chatter in the workplace. I should be able to get like a whole round. Amen, brother. Preach on. Preach. It's a lot of unnecessary chatter in the workplace. Just because we're being quiet, that doesn't mean that, you got a problem with me or you don't want to work. No, just I'm thinking we being constructive. We don't have to do a whole lot of chatting and back and forth. Most of the time, it's not constructive. At best, it's, what you think? Who's going to win that old trophy? What you think about them basketball playoffs and all of it? Like, come on. None of the even the FIFA tournament coming up. What you think? That's going to be amazing. Come on, we back to the ball games. Are we back to the ball games? No, if really, especially if you are classified as black, you're a black male. No, yes, Gus T is saying on this one, not saying anything is way better than, oh, that's Leroy. We always chat about sports. No, I am never interested in talking about sports in the workplace as a black male, like never. So that had to be something else. It has to be preferably something related to the workplace. But we're not just going to drift off and talk about all kinds of things, particularly with other black, because I think sometimes most of us were not very codified at all, but especially with people classified as black. Oh, my black brother, my black sister, and, think we can, I can relax and we can just talk about any other, whoa. That is, you are what they say. How they say? They say you are cruising for a bruising. Literally, maybe got to go upside because that I shouldn't laugh because that is Chauncia Meekins. Yeah. But that happens frequently where we make assumptions about this is a person classified as black. They have a lot of melanin, so they are going to think the way I do, or they're going to be counter-racist, attempted, or whatever else, and it ends up being something way different. We've had this can, as they say, rear its ugly head, especially around election time. Oh, man, I remember people would make assumptions either way about Obama that, oh, you black, sure enough, you got to hate Obama's guts. They'd make that sort of assumption, and then they find out that the black person, they voted for Obama like 15 times, or the other way around. I love Obama and find out you think Obama is the Antichrist? What? Like that sort of thing. That's like, we really do not have to talk about things related to the job. That's where we can chat it up. Chat it up. Oh, you got that promotion? Wow, you got any tips on how you secured that? Chat it up. They got a new position in opening? Really? Chat it up. Anything else constructive related to it? That's what I'm saying. There's so many things related to the jobs, your job, where you work, the people that you work, not gossip, but constructive things that can help you get a promotion, a raise, a transfer, important things that you need in your career. These are the things to chat it up about it. Generally speaking, it is much more difficult to have fisticuffs, bloodshed, talking about the job. How to get a promotion. Are they going to pave the parking lot anytime soon? It's a lot more difficult to have a brawl over that as opposed to we done drifted off like how much you lost on DraftKings? That type of thing. And no gambling, and I can't, especially in this era, no gambling in the workplace, no office pools or gambling with your employees. I've seen where I think in some places they say you can't be wearing sports paraphernalia and all that because it can generate conflict. I would say the same thing. No gambling in the workplace. That can be habit forming, conflict, takes up a lot of time and energy. There are many reasons. No gambling, no wagering, even what they say, friendly wager, the local sports team or whatever it might be. No thanks. No thanks. And I don't make enough money, discretionary income, to be wagering on frivolous things. Just a suggestion. Anywho, I'm a sprinkle torn, given all of that, and plus a listener shared this. I'm a sprinkle torn because a listener shared a report. It's workplace violence. As opposed to Chauncia Meekins, where a patron pulled a firearm allegedly over onion rings. 20-year-old black female patron, and shot and killed Chauncia Meekins. Heard about her bail and all that at the final report today. But listener this time sent a report where this time it's the employee who had the firearm. That alone, how can I not say this is, what we talk about, safety in the workplace, even for the other employees, like, ooh-wee, I do not want to find out, watching the news, like, is that Jamal that I done worked with for the past year? And he done pulled out a pistol? Ooh-wee, has he been packing a pistol for the last year that we've been working together? Whew. I do not want to find out that way watching it, or find out live time. I'm making a quesadilla, cheesy burrito. This was at the Taco Bell. I'm making the cheesy burrito, and ooh-wee, he got a pistol. Ooh. Ooh. Woo. I done spilled hot sauce on him. He could have shot me. Well, whew. That is something that you would want to know. I've said that before. Do we work in an environment where they tolerate employees having firearms on the premises? I need to know that. I'm going to make double sure I don't step on nobody's foot here. I don't raise my voice against nobody here. Talk real calm about even if it's a dispute, talk real calm. That's definitely one I want to know. I'm back here on the fryer. I'm not going to get too rowdy. Like, woof, even next to the chicken nuggets. Man, I don't get these nuggets counted correctly or whatever. Woof, might be a problem. I'm going to behave myself. Man, this came in from the taco, but like I said, so this is the other way around, where the employee is armed. When Chauncia Meekins in Missouri was shot and killed, it was allegedly over onion rings. Onion rings. We will hear what this here incident, and this was from Monday, like not, I told you for workplace racism, we don't go back in the archives and all that and dig to get things that happened in ancient times. This happened, what is that, 4 days ago? 3 days ago? 3 days ago this week at the Taco Bell, and this time over a beverage.
I'm Jim Grimes. Our top story tonight, new video showing the moment a West Palm Beach Taco Bell employee fired a gun at customers.
2 people were hurt, one grazed by a bullet and the other injured in the scuffle. We asked CBS 12 News reporter Katie Benty to find out more about the motive. She joins us live tonight. Katie?
Liz and Jim, standing outside the Taco Bell here, you can actually still see the damage just over my shoulder. There's a window boarded up after police say an employee started shooting at customers. And can you believe this is all over an argument about a water cup?
Inside this West Palm Beach Taco Bell Monday, an argument, then chaos. A customer hits record as an employee appears to come from behind the counter with a gun. Investigators say that employee is 20-year-old Damari Patterson, racking the gun, then swinging it, striking a woman before a shot fires. Detectives say Patterson then followed the group outside, firing again as they tried to escape. And the newly released police report has details about how this started. The customers were asking for water cups, then filling them with soda. Police say 2 people sustained minor injuries, drove themselves to the hospital. We know one, a woman, was very close to being shot.
One individual was grazed during that altercation.
24 hours later, the suspect in front of a judge, charged with 3 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And records show this isn't the first time a heated argument turned violent. In 2024, deputies say Patterson pulled a knife during a dispute at home. Meanwhile, back at Taco Bell, the doors are open, people are coming in for food. I spoke with some customers who aren't bothered by the violence. They say they know it can happen anywhere, including fast food restaurants.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me that it would happen. The world we live in today, it makes sense.
It's not a problem. I know things happen.
Now, this issue with customers taking free water cups and filling them up over at the soda fountain is actually a real problem for so many restaurants. In fact, some companies say that it's added to their overall operating costs to the point where they've now had to increase prices. Now, as far as Taco Bell goes, there's no sort of company-wide policy on how they handle free water cups, but it's up to each individual location to decide how to address it. Live in West Palm Beach, I'm Katie Benty, CBS 12 News.
I don't know. Since you have discretion, each individual location, with regards to your water policy, water cup policy, I guess in some locations, hey, we put 3 or 4 shots in you. We give you a water cup. It's supposed to be water. No Mr. Pibb, no Sprite, H2O only. Wow. Like, they talked to some of the patrons, down in Florida. They said, I know things happen and, it's not a problem. It's a problem, to me, especially because it's so many of these cases. I don't remember thinking now going to the fast food restaurant, putting your life on the line by an employee shooting you, or a patron. Like, man, I really didn't think it was that dangerous. But I mean, again, you do have a lot more people with firearms, maybe weapons in general. And then, hey, everybody, it seems to make my day. You were going to say something slick? Well, then say something slick then, and I pulled my firearm. Even I looked on the video, and again, this is a black alleged 20-year-old, just like with Chauncia Meekins, the victim. She was 32, but she was shot by a 20-year-old black female suspect. And in this case, the shooter alleged a 20-year-old down in Florida. Come on. Coming over water. Like, I wouldn't care if they got 3 gallons of soda. I'm not sure if that is worth bullets. I don't even know if you call the enforcement officials, if they're going to come right quick, you tell them they didn't took about 3 gallons worth of our fountain soda. We'll get there. Maybe we'll put that on the hopper. I don't know if we're gonna be there right quick, but we'll get there. We got other things to do. Florida's got a lot of problems. Drugs, everything. Haitians. we got a lot of problems. Soda, a water cup, onion ring. See, that sort of. And this is another one, just like what I said with Chauncia Meekins. Now, this is black on black. If Chauncia Meekins had been a white woman, do I think this 20-year-old black female suspect, do I think she would have shot and killed a white woman working at the Steak and Shake, because the onion rings were cold? And in Taco Bell down in Florida, do I think this 20-year-old black dude, do I think he would have pulled out a gun if this had been 3 white females and they filled up a water cup with soda? That is challenging to accept, but hey, maybe folks can find reports of this happening. My general assessment, that is black culture. We cannot wait to fight and brawl with other black people, even other black coworkers, because there's lots of that too. But man, I would explain, especially anybody, if you're going to like fast food, that is so dangerous. We talked about LA, they were talking about the aggressive customers and such. I guess maybe you have aggressive and armed employees too. Man, if you have people that you care about and they work like fast food, wow, talk to them about this is a dangerous job. These are things that you can do. De-escalate, that is the word. De-escalate with other employees, de-escalate with patrons. Ask your manager, maybe even the store owner, and check policy and procedure. Are we employees allowed to have firearms on our person on the premises? Just that is good to know. And am I working with people who may potentially be armed? Like if I got my concealed carry permit, I can be packing while I'm back here, on fries. That's something I think we want to know in any work environment. I wouldn't care if it's fast food or any place else, but I would want to know that, and especially because that seems like it's such a volatile work environment now. So many reports, I can think of 3, 4, 5 of them in the past year where we're talking like fatal violence, someone never going home again as a result of something that happened at a fast food, on my shift at the fast food restaurant. So safety, de-escalation, I cannot say that enough. And finding out, and you can even include, I'm not finding out, in the hopes of being able to bring my firearm to work. I just want to know, like, wow, am I working with other people? This person might have a Glock on them, and we have a disagreement or something, and I need to remember, like, oh, this person is armed. Like, whoo, that would be important to know. And I think that's a reasonable request. I'm not looking to get over on someone. Just want to know, who am I around here? Like, how am I in danger type of a thing? Most jobs, I would hope, do not allow employee, unless you do like security where you got to go and fill up the ATM machine. Like, I don't think that's most of us. Most jobs, I would hope, you cannot have a firearm for about 1 billion different reasons. Let's see. Some of the reports that we heard, audio at the beginning of the broadcast. The segment about the tariffs, now that was audio. I suspect those were white people talking about the millions that they anticipate receiving as a result of the refunds, tariffs refunds from President Trump. Now, whoopee for them if they get them. They did say it's a lot of question marks. When is this going to happen? Is it going to be one lump sum? That sort of thing. But, they're waiting it out. Black-owned businesses, non-white-owned businesses, I don't know how many of those folks. They might be in that other tier that they were talking about where maybe you qualify, maybe you figure out how to use the portal, maybe they respond in a timely manner, maybe not. It would not surprise me at all if you have lots of non-white people, same way they had with the Paycheck Protection Program, where lots of non-white people were not able, lots of black entrepreneurs, non-white entrepreneurs, they were not able to take advantage of that COVID program, even mainly racism, white supremacy at the banks, usual suspects, same thing that they would get. No, nigger, you can't get no loan for nothing else. Same thing. These are the same folks that you would go to for the Paycheck Protection Program, so black people didn't get a whole lot of help then. Black entrepreneurs specifically. So it might be the same type of setup this time around, although I don't know. I'd have to hear from black entrepreneurs or see if they've done research on this to see if black entrepreneurs, if they're getting, tariffs, refunds to kind of help their business reinvest, whatever they want to do with those funds. We'll see. The segment about the black farmers, same type of deal where they're talking about the massive increase in the cost of fertilizer as a result of the conflict in Iran currently. And they had some white farmers down in the Delta and talking about how costly fuel as well to do the tractors and all that, till the land. And they were talking about it's so expensive that they might not, be farming this summer or might have to give up in total. They pivoted and they went and talked to some of the black farmers, and they talked about how, exponentially more difficult it's been for them no surprise there at all, and especially because the current administration, now while they're doing all this about we're going to get tariffs and no good China and flooding us with all these cheap goods, that President Trump, Elon Musk, that we got reverse racism, and you're trying to let these black farmers mooch blocked compensation that I believe the Biden administration that they had set aside for black farmers, compensation for all the years of racism. And he says, oh man, they had a lawsuit with the white farmers. Same thing. White farmers said, oh man, that's reverse discrimination. You messing us over and we can't get no help. We need all that, not lies and racism. But you heard from black farmers in the Mississippi, Louisiana region, talking about how devastating this has been for them. And wow, are we going to be able to, afford fertilizer, afford fuel that we need so that we can crop, so we can even keep our farm? Another illustration of being a black entrepreneur, not the solution to replacing white supremacy with justice, not even close. Let's see, the segment from First Post about the tech layoffs, which we've talked about quite a bit, but specifically their impact on when they say older in this report, they mean employees that are over the age of 40, that it is particularly bleak for them being laid off, and then the difficulties if they are laid off, the difficulties of being rehired, and how it gets worse as you get older. For folks, I think they said for the group that are like over 60, you might not even get rehired. It starts to drop. You have people that are looking for jobs and just, nobody wants to bring them on. Now, I contrasted that with what they said about the folks who are just graduating. It seems like neither end of the spectrum, neither end is very good. But we'll stick with the older folks for the moment. And they, gave all these justifications that, companies don't want to pay all that money for so-called middle management, that it's cheaper for them to just bring on younger folks, not as much expertise, so they can pay them a lot less. Let's dump those folks, the older people. And I said, man, older, non-white, black, so-called middle management, probably overqualified and should be executive, but they've been tethered, if you will, and they're stuck at the middle management position. I could see tons of black people at that career level being eviscerated right now. You're not necessary, and it's probably not even that at that what they call mid-management tier. Is probably not even that you have that robust of a salary, but it's just oh man, we can trim a little bit, right there. That takes away some of the potential, having somebody else yapping about, they deserve a promotion, and probably correct. We take all that away and fill it up with some people who are way less qualified. Well, we got easy justification to pay them way less. I could totally see that, and we just don't want a whole lot of dark people. If we just want purge, get rid of some of the black people that are just a nickel too much for our taste, easily get rid of them. Let's see. But I would keep that in mind for if you are classified as non-white, if you're over 40, especially the older you go, keep that resume up to date. And that's one, in terms of, I think Bay Area Mom reminds us, hey, any of us, you could be fired. We could be fired at any time, not because you did anything, not because you said anything, just because we got other plans and they do not involve you working here. Beat it. You could be the best worker there. Beat it. You could be fired at any time. And it seems, especially if you're over 40, oh yeah, we are looking for any reason so we can dump you, get somebody younger and cheaper. Hopefully that's not what they're thinking, but don't be surprised if that's what they're thinking on your job. Let's see, the segment about the
That's why I said now, we heard both ends of the spectrum, as they say. What is it like for older people on the job? Again, now they didn't say it, but I am. Older black people, older black employees especially. And then for younger people that are just graduating and coming in. Incidentally, they mentioned Wisconsin. That's where they were talking for this report. Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Population just a cupcake or three under 70,000 people, according to the U.S. Census. Over 82% white, and about a cupcake crumb over 5% black. Because it's such a high concentration of white people and such a low concentration of niggers, I'm going to say, and in fact, I even searched, Oshkosh is listed as a sundown town where they deliberately forbid the nigger. You can't overstay here. Beat it. Like so. And they even talk about the exclusion of niggers in this part of Wisconsin and all that. Wisconsin itself is kind of one gigantic sundown state, basically, except for Milwaukee, like some of the portions at the very south and a few other locations. Like, man, they do not allow no black people to just willy-nilly all over WI. Any hoodles. But the folks that they talked to who graduated University of Wisconsin, and they were talking about their prospects, and some of the folks say they submitted 60, 70 job applications and got nothing. Whew. That's what I mean now. Wow. So that's both ends of the spectrum. If you're over 40, over 50, oh man, get on out of here. We don't want you. Go on and get your foot in the coffin because we don't want you here. Beat it. And then you just graduated. Oh, we're not even doing no hiring. You got all them fancy degrees and everything, all that studying, thinking we're going to pay. We'll let the AI do it, or we just got a hiring freeze, or whatever the excuse is. Like, dang. Like, what chunk of the job hunting market is it like, yeah, if it's not good for the folks who are older, and it's not good for the folks who are younger, like, what? where is the sweet spot right now? They said the job huggers, the people that already got their job. Like, ooh, I'd never heard that phrase before. Job huggers. I'm just pointing out, it really wasn't that long ago where they were saying it is an employee's market. It really wasn't. Right in the middle of COVID, and they said people were quitting left and right and evaluating life choices and what am I here for and all that sort of thing. And people were leaving jobs, and there were all those different businesses that were struggling to keep enough employees, and they were giving out employee bonuses and crazy increases in compensation and all the rest. I guess those days are done. Because they say, wow, we got job huggers, and the people that are lucky enough to have a job, I'm not giving it up. I'm keeping it forever. Hey, man, that just be abreast, because things can change quickly. Again, this is something I would want to know as a younger person and be talking about this. If you have offspring, be talking to them, because it can be really deflating. They talk to a number of the folks that they talk to, they're graduating college and such, and saying, man, maybe I need to cast a wider net. Maybe I need to go to grad school. It's not really a good job market right now. Maybe I go to school for another 3-4 years and I come back and check, see how things look then. Maybe it will have improved. In order even to do all of that, I think it is important, this not getting that job, don't internalize that to some sort of deficiency with you for people classified as black, non-white people in total, because I think things are designed why did this happen? Why did I send out, 50 job applications, 80 job applications? I didn't get any responses, or I didn't get a job even if they did respond. Why did this happen? the system is designed, it's not racism. It's you. You didn't have the correct attire. You didn't study hard enough. You didn't research the company or whatever it is, whatever the excuse is supposed to be, but it was something defective about you, not system of white supremacy. You didn't have a chance for any of these jobs to begin with. Like, which I'm not, say be defeatist about things, but I mean, hey, sometimes that is the truth. We didn't have a chance for the job from the very beginning. You could have got as gussied up as you want to, got snatched, as they say, for the females, and hair's looking great, and I got the best shoes ever and all that. You didn't have a chance for this job from the very beginning. Before you even put your name on the application, you're not getting this job. Already got this lined up from my cousin or whomever, not you. Not being, and I think it's easier. You heard some of the people that I suspect are white. I suspect, hey, it's Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Ain't no niggers, 5%. So based on evidence, I speculate these are probably all white people at the university, like, woo. So they're talking to these folks, and it's much easier if you're classified as white to not beat up on yourself and not feel like, man, I must be the lamest in the world and I didn't do right. Maybe I messed up the application. I need to redo my resume, blah, 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 and going through all this. It is way easier that, no, it's not me. I am a strong, competent white woman, strong, competent white man. I will get a job. A little bit more persistence or whatever. Uncle will come through. Auntie will come through. And plus you got all that nepotism, like, one of my friends will hook. Let me see who I went to kindergarten with. Chip will hook him. Chip got it. He gonna get, it's way easier. But even without all of that ease and cronyism and nepotism, just recognizing we are in a system of white supremacy racism. Yes, we can all work to improve, do better, learn more, and should be doing that. But going, submitting your applications and applying, recognizing the environment as well. We're in a system of white supremacy where many white people claim that they're having a difficult time getting a job. So, it's going to be way worse for us classified as not white. Even incorporating some of their tips about, casting a wider net, as they say, or looking at jobs that you might otherwise not consider. Those might be things, be thinking about if you're a younger person a little bit closer to the beginning of your career. Context is everything. We heard the segment on our sick white brother, Andy Freeman, in Maryland, who has his suit saying that he is a victim of reverse discrimination. That old Mayor Scott in Baltimore, I thought they were going to slip in and see, President Trump told us it was a hellhole and got the rats taken over. He says, old Mayor Scott, privileged black dude, deliberately got rid of old Andy Freeman and said that he wanted the black female. We got priorities about who we want in important positions in Baltimore, and it does not involve old Andy Freeman. I can see Mr. Freeman. I think his attorney might be non-white. There was video for this one, so I was looking at it. I think she may be, I'm not sure. They flashed her image up when they were talking to her on the screen quickly, and then they pivot to something else. But I think she might be a non-white person. That might be intentional. I have to see her again to even conclude that, and then we'll have to see with the trial. But I strongly suspect that Mr. Freeman will be successful in his trial. It seems like our president and Elon Musk and so many others insist white people is victims of white supremacy. And they said, hey, they got this old lame program in Baltimore, Mayor Scott trying to promote the old DEI nonsense, and they said trying to promote the minorities and women. They did put the W in front of it, white women, but said trying to promote all these minorities and got their old DEI agenda. Like, I super expect Mr. Freeman is going to win. Like, million suit. And it's probably going to be, and I would also include, this is white genetic annihilation. You will probably see a large increase in the numbers of white people saying that they are victims of racism, and maybe even including, we're minorities too. They are the minority in terms of population on the planet. But I suspect it's going to be a growing increase of this if more and more white people are really concerned and feeling seriously anxious about their population numbers. Maybe even system of white supremacy control because of their population numbers or lack thereof. The last report, like I said, update on Chauncia Meekins, 20-year-old in custody and trying to negotiate her bail. And this happened at a fast food restaurant, as I said, as with many, many other cases that have happened over the past 12 months. I cannot say her family, I know they were trying to pursue the death penalty, or at least hoping for the death penalty against Miss Meekins, 20-year-old black female. I cannot stress enough, if you work at some sort of fast food establishment, or if it's a young, summertime is coming up, right? Chauncia Meekins was only 32. That's not a teenager, but that's not a guy. Hey, she wouldn't have to worry about the ageism in the workplace at 32. She got a ways to go before she gets there, right? So if you have younger people that are just starting their career, maybe looking for a job, they're in school and they're looking for work over the summertime and such, I would show them some of these reports. If they're going to get a job, fast food, or they work fast food, I would show them some of these reports, because a lot of these folks, I've been telling you, it's a bevy of 20-year-olds who got major cases, killing somebody, shooting at somebody, or somebody's plural, at 20. I would show some of these reports because, hey, sometimes it's the person that you are working with, sometimes it's the patron. Either way, they are letting the pistols fly at the fast food shack. So you do not want to be fussing and yelling and blah, blah, blah. De-escalation is the word. They said it today. It was reported originally before the onion rings. The customer, 20-year-old black female, she was dissatisfied with the onion rings. She threw a beverage, allegedly, at Chauncia Meekins, and Miss Meekins threw the beverage back, and then the 20-year-old black female allegedly pew, pew, pew. De-escalation. When that drink comes flying, even if it, spills open, you got a crisp white uniform, and you got to get it dry cleaned, let's say. And they got all that beverage all over you. White socks that are a part of your uniform that you paid for out of your money. Even then, I know that's tough. Besmirch your whiteness. Even then. And you got to think that in advance. You just got to have that in your brain computer that, hey, I cannot retaliate. This might happen. And it might be a milkshake. I mean, you can think of the worst of it. Coffee, whatever it is. It might happen. Customers, do all, especially in the drive-thru, they do all kinds of clowning things. That's why they got a camera there. Even then, I'm not going to retaliate and run out there. And, who do you think you throwing it? They might have a firearm. They throw something. I'm not throwing it back, and I'll snatch you out of that cut. They might have a firearm. De-escalate. That is the word with patrons, really, and co-workers. I told you that one, I would have to show him. He's 20 years old. If I got a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old, this is somebody you could have went to school with, yes? Right in your age cohort, yes? Okay. Unfortunately, might represent the way you would respond in a similar situation. Even if you don't have a firearm, oh, okay. You done gave them the water cup, and they go over, black people, of course, they go over and try and steal some Mr. Pibb. What? You stealing our Mr. Pibb, and you go grab I don't know, a plate and start smacking them upside the head with the plate. They might get you for assault on that one too. Be thinking in advance. It's de-escalate. I'm not going to beat nobody because they pilfered, 20 ounces of soda from the fountain machine. It's not my machine anyway. Like, really. Now, I'm not saying that you got to be whatever, be that minimal about it. But, I mean, really, I'm not putting a firearm on anyone over a beverage. I mean, really. Really. What is the protocol? What do they even say about that? I know it can't be, hey, you didn't committed capital offense right there. That can't be in the manual. When a customer steals a beverage, what does the policy and procedure say? I can't say that enough. Review the policy and procedure because there is so much violence in the workplace now. They should have something in the manual about conduct, de-escalate, especially if you work with the public. I think the caller at the courthouse has told us about times where they have training and such about how to deal with the public and de-escalate things. And even if they don't have training, sometimes they'll send emails and such about just, how to deal so that we don't have conflict, brawls, fighting, and even over the phone where that can happen. But still, we don't want, what did you call? Who you think? Oh, come on down to the court. Hey, de-escalate. Because they might come down to the courthouse and be de-escalate. That's what I'd be telling young folks. That's what I'd be reminding myself. Anybody else who's in a work environment, especially if they have a lot of just the general public, can come to wherever their work location is and ask questions, act a fool. Let's see. Did I get everything? Chauncia Meekins. Think so. Okay. The number 720-716-7300, the code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Folks have any suggestions for minimizing violence in the workplace, please share. Woo, we need that like desperately. Let's see. Emails to share. I'll get to those and then see if folks have thoughts to share. Phone as well. Let's see. Emails untiljustice@gmail.com. So last week, update kind of here, we had a young lady dial in and she was telling us about a situation at the U.S. Post Office. It was about a black male supervisor, so-called, and he had non-white subordinates, but I think they were classified as black subordinates, and they refused to work. And I think this specific date on the job, they were short-staffed. I think people had called out for whatever reason, and so they're trying to make do with limited staff. And some of the black employees just, I'm not going to work. And so they work with these machines, automated to get the mail dispersed quickly. And so I guess it really messes up the operations if you are short employees and then the limited employees that you have, they're shirking their responsibilities. So he goes to try to tell her, hey, can you get back on the job? Hey, you don't tell me what to do. Get on away from around. And so he sends her home. She refuses to go home. He goes to tell the supervisors. They do not support him. They do not send her home. They send him home. And he wanted suggestions. What can I do? And particularly this black male, he's trying to make this a career at the post office. They have, stability for the time being, benefits, relatively stable pay, that sort of thing, pension, like, okay, could see that. And so he's saying, man, what would be the best way to handle this? Employee subordinates that I'm supposed to be managing to deal with this, especially when management does not back me, support me. And so I said last week, one, it reminded me of Carter G. Woodson, Miseducation of the Negro, because some of our behavior conduct and really some components of black culture have been present for well over a century. And this is one. Carter G. Woodson wrote eloquently about our conduct in the workplace and saying that black workers, I'm not going to listen to no black supervisor. You don't tell me you don't tell me to go over here and sort no envelopes. And I've mentioned this regularly. I play the audio segment regularly and just pointing out that this has been a problem for so long. This might be another one. Share with your offspring, because this is likely to be something you see, encounter. You might one day be a supervisor and experience it yourself. But we generally, I'm not going to listen to no black person. No, nigger, you're not going to tell me you're not the boss of me. Who do you think you are, nigger? That's been ingrained in how, we are supposed to think about us. Another black person. Black people aren't supposed to be in charge. You are not the man. And we respond accordingly. I'm not going over there to sift no letters. And so I said, one, I would maybe show them that chapter. You don't have to read the whole book. I think you can access it online for free. I would just show them that chapter, or even explain it to them that this has been a sad recurring pattern, behavior pattern with us victims of racism for a very long time, with the hopes that thinking about it in that manner will help this victim not take it personally, so he doesn't feel like, what? And I'm assaulted anew every time that this type of thing happens, that, okay, this is just a part of our conditioning. I won't take it personal. I'm just very robotic in my response. I expect this type of thing to happen, and this is the best way to handle it, keeping my blood pressure low and working to solve this problem, and solving this problem with minimal conflict. I'm not going back and forth with you. What did you say? You're going to obey my authority. Who did? None of that. None of that. And I said I would even speak with management about how best to respond when you have defiant employees, especially employees, I'm not going to work. What do you recommend? What's the best way to handle that, get this problem solved, and really get people back to working? What do you all recommend if we're not going to send someone home when they refuse? See what they say, and then I would do it that way every time. So this was all last week that we went over this. And then I also solicited, if we have other folks who've worked at the post office, knowledgeable, let us know. I've said for at least a few months, because I know I was talking about it last year during the holidays, and I said, wow, I was pretty impressed. The bot had great suggestions about dealing with the office holiday party under the system of racism, and it's kind of a tacky, hazardous environment. Great suggestions about how to get through all of that as safely as possible. If you even suggestions, hey, I don't want to go. These are ways to get out of it safely. Thumbs up. So I copied and pasted the listener's query from last week to the chatbot. Right? It's already written out. Let's see what suggestions the chatbot has to offer. In fact, before I even get to that, I'll read the update, because it was so no coincidences. It was beautiful, like almost the instant that I pasted this into the chatbot, the listener who shared last week responded. So, I mean, it was right and exact. I was thinking about her at the exact moment she emailed. So she responded, or gave us the update. Greetings, Gus. I listened to the archive, Workplace Racism, and appreciate you reading the question to the listeners. Your suggestion regarding asking his superiors how they would like him to respond, handle the employees. He has tried this method. It only leads him to becoming more frustrated, since their way of doing things does not always make perfect sense, to be expected. He finds himself back where he started, at odds with the employees, because they are trying to make sense of the instructions given by his superiors. He is constantly reminded that just because he may be in a so-called position of power, not really, he is not in a powerful position. And I think it's important that we remember that. That can kind of help us think logically and not be emotional, because it's not, you know, an affront. How dare you? And so, hey, I don't have no authority anyway on this here plantation. Not at this post office or any other. We are on the plantation. To your question, would the employees behave the same way if the supervisor was white? Absolutely not. The employees would be knocking each other over trying to be model employee, all hoping to gain a bit of recognition. I have, however, witnessed non-compliance directed at non-white, non-black supervisors. Not surprised there either. See, you still not the man, the woman. Say the same thing. You fresh off the boat. I call ice on you myself, Gomez. Who you think you are, lipping off, mouthing off at me? You sit over there. See, I see the same thing. You know, Leroy, you don't talk to me. You don't boss me around. You go over there and say, I know your uncle. Sit down. You know, same thing. How did you with it? As the employees see it, neither the non-white black male or the non-white, non-black others supervisors have zero power, which is pretty much true. You know, that is a statement of fact. This is the plantation. We know who's in charge. True, and that's why I say it's important we remember that so we can keep our blood pressure down and respond accordingly. Along with requesting assistance from the cows, I bought him a copy of The Miseducation of the Negro. How about that? Which you bring up quite frequently. Sure enough, I told him Mr. Woodson has a clear understanding of the behaviors of non-white black people. Unfortunately, he still does. And that is enough to make you want to cry right there. Like, I thought we'd made all this progress. This should help him to understand what it is and why he is having supervision issues. Maybe also why his superiors will not back him. Hopefully this will help him find a way to grow in his position and move him into his next shape. Appreciate that. So at this same instant, I had plugged in to the chatbot her query from last week to see what the bot would recommend for all of this, and it was pretty solid. So this is verbatim what the bot cranked out to her verbatim message from 7 days ago. Bot says this makes total sense, and it's a classic painful example of the middle management squeeze, which we just heard from the folks getting laid off, intensified by the dynamics of racism that Woodson wrote about in The Miseducation of the Negro. Your advice about not taking it personal and neutralizing the lack of backup is solid. In a system like the USPS, which is heavily unionized and often functions as a black-led, in quotes, space within a larger white-dominated structure, the rules of engagement are unique. Now that gave me tremendous pause because, like, wait a minute, pause. What do you mean a black-led, in quotes, space within a larger white-dominated structure? Like, what? That even, now if that's what it is, where racial showcasing, they make it seem like you got these black people out front, that would even factor into my motivation for wanting to be promoted. Like, oh man, like, is that how this is set up? Like, you do all this showcasing to make it look like, hey man, this is the UPS, we're a federal organization, ain't no racism in the federal government. And you got all these black people that ain't in charge of nothing, and then they got all these black people that they supervise. They just call them names, and you don't tell me what to do. Is that why my package take 5 days to get? Like, man, I should have asked more questions because I just had never heard the post office described in that manner. Anyone that worked, is that true? Is that how the post office works? Man, okay. Moving forward. And again, this is all from the bot. Moving forward. If he wants to move up with make sure I skip the sentence. The supervisor going home instead of the employee was a tactical error because it signaled to the entire floor that the insubordinate employee has more power than the supervisor. If he wants to move up without compromising his integrity, here are some C.O.W.S style constructive tips for him to navigate. 1. Master the paper trail, the weapon of bureaucracy. In a federal environment like the U.S. Postal Service, he said, she said is useless. Fuller used to say that all the time, and he too was a federal employee. Game recognized game, logic recognized logic. The supervisor needs to stop the back and forth arguing. The recommendation, instead of an emotional standoff, he should issue a direct order, in quotes. If she refuses, he doesn't argue. Fuller used to say that all the time. No arguing. He simply walks away and starts a fact-finding document. Why? When he goes to his manager with a documented timeline of a refused direct order, it's much harder for the manager to ignore than a disagreement, in quotes, between two people. 2. Neutralize the manager's cowardice. The manager didn't back him because the manager wants a quiet floor, in quotes. By letting the employee stay, the manager avoided a union grievance. The recommendation: the supervisor needs to frame the insubordination as a productivity and safety issue, not a personal one. And I had the biggest smile in the world on this because I say all the time, try to frame workplace problems as safety issues, regardless of what it is. Try to figure out a way to frame this as a safety issue. It is much more challenging for people to, we don't care about no safety. What? Write that down. Like, write that down immediately. Like, that puts you in a much better position that you are reporting safety violations, hazardous conditions, dangerous conditions, and having people, okay, we'll have to investigate. We don't want safety conditions. That should be the logical response. And or we don't care about no safety hazards. We don't care about safety. Put that in writing. Both of those put you in a much stronger position moving forward to get this problem solved. But I was not thinking about this as a safety matter. It continues. The script manager, by allowing employee X to refuse a direct order, the AI machine was down for 40 minutes, causing a delay in the platform delivery. This creates a bottleneck that affects the whole facility's numbers. The goal: make it more uncomfortable for the manager to allow the behavior than to correct it. 3. Handle the union representative proactively. The union rep told him, the ball is in your court, direct quote, because they know the supervisor is hesitant. The recommendation: he needs to learn the national agreement, the union contract, better than the rep. Now, if this is the employee manual or a part of it, as I state with every job, you want to read this before you take the job, ideally. That way, really, that's the logical way, because that way you know from A to Z, what am I signing up for? What are they going to be expecting of me? That way you know you have a much better idea of what sort of conduct they tolerate in the workplace, what to do about it, all of that. Now, it's totally different what they have on paper, what they enforce, what they allow. Are they consistent? Those are all very different matters. But at least the beginnings, let me look at this policy and procedure. And I've said consistently, because there's so many violations. We're in a system of white supremacy. You don't want to get to situations on your job where you're being accused or you have some sort of problem, and this is the first time that you're looking at, I guess for the post office, the national agreement, the union contract. You want to know that pretty well so that this is just a review. When a problem, you already know, oh, this violates the agreement, and I'm pretty sure that that's in chapter 1 or page whatever, and I'm just going back to review this part so that I know it well, screenshot whatever, so that I have the exact applicable portion. But policy and procedure, man, that is super helpful. It continues. Fact, most contracts have a maintenance of operations clause. If an employee's refusal to work stops the mail, which was claimed in the report, that is often an emergency exception to standard discipline protocols. If that's in the contract, you would need, especially supervisor, you want to know all of that so you have all weapons, all tools at your disposal. 4, address the Woodson dynamic. As Woodson noted, some black subordinates will test a black supervisor specifically to see if they have real power or just overseer power. And he put that in quote, or it put that in quotes. The recommendation: he must be unemotional and consistent. If he treats the nuisance employee with the exact same robotic, documented process as he treats his best employee, he removes the personal element she is using to bait him. Say that all the time. Fuller says that all the time. Very Godfather-like. Do not take it personal, especially with other black employees. You're not in charge. You don't tell me what to do. Who do you? You don't take it personal. I remember we had a young lady, black female, and she was a manager, and I think somehow, and it's not surprising or anything, especially now they have more and more like transparency laws about compensation and salary, so it's not anything that surprising. But some of the other employees became aware of how much money she made as a manager, and they were you don't make all that money, blah blah blah, and that sort of thing. Like, man, I mean, anyway, I don't think they were managers, but they were upset about that. That's another one where if this young lady was classified as white, would they have said all that? I think our grandmothers, great-grandmothers, grandfathers, uncles, mothers, like how many generations of black people are accustomed to white people making more money than them? Okay. Anyway, but I do think that that makes a massive difference in being upfront about all of that and expecting all of that to begin with, so you're not shocked. Moving up without going along. He thinks going along is the only way to get promoted. Actually, upper management usually promotes people who can control the floor. The strategy: he should focus on becoming the supervisor whose machine numbers are the most consistent, because he has managed out the absenteeism and insubordination through the proper slow grind legal channels of the USPS. Letters of warning, 7-day suspensions, etc. The most important takeaway: he should never be the one to go home again. When he left, he surrendered his post. He should stay, document the refusal to work as AWOL or failure to follow instructions, and let the paperwork do the fighting while he continues to run the rest of his team. If you talk to him, ask him, does he have a written record of every time this specific employee has been a nuisance? Has he ever sat down with his manager to ask, what is the specific procedure you want me to follow when a direct order is refused? This puts the manager on the hook to provide a solution. Now, we were told that they do so, but the solution has problems or is confusing. I don't know if the questions were asked to try to get clarification about things, but he said that when they do this, they do not provide solutions. That's the formula. Once you frame it as a safety and productivity issue, you've moved it from a personality clash to a liability issue. Managers can ignore a supervisor's feelings, and normally do, but they find it very hard to ignore a formal report stating that a subordinate's refusal to follow orders creates a hazard or a catastrophic failure in the mail system. Since you've already mailed your motion, and that's all of theirs. Wait a minute. Got confused. This is more. The invisible manager technique. He should stop saying, I want you to do this, and start saying, the position requires that the machine be cleared. He isn't the one telling her what to do. The national agreement, again, I think that's policy and procedure, or at least the union contract for the post office, and the U.S. Post Office mission are. It's much harder to fight a process than a person. I thought that was a superb recommendation that could be applied in many different fields, where it's not, I'm telling you, since, like I said frequently, that you don't tell me. The position requires, and then you just document they're going to do it or not. The paper shield. When she says, go get someone else, he shouldn't get angry. He should just pull out his notebook, write down the time and her exact words, and say, I'm noting your refusal to follow a direct instruction. I'll be filing a report shortly. And then you move on to whatever other tasks you have to do. No audience. I thought this was massive too, because so frequently a massive part of Negro culture. Mr. Fuller talked about this all the time. We are show people. We would love to put on a show and a performance, especially if it's 5, 2, 1 other black person around, or have you seen that? I told that Negro gonna come over here and tell me get to it. Who does he think he is? Man, I'm gonna take another 15 minutes and get me a smoke. You got Newport? Love that sort of thing. They can sit over there and all that, and they supposed to be working. They're over there looking at us like they got, hey, we ain't got Netflix. We can watch them cut a fool for a little while. No audience. These subordinates often act out for the benefit of the other 3 employees watching. As I said, sometimes it might be one other spectator. By being robotic and unemotional, he denies her the show. If there's no drama, she loses her social power on the floor. He needs to understand, in the UPS, the paperwork is the power. And in many work environments, that is true. Paperwork and paperwork and paperwork. If he has a folder full of documented failure to follow instructions, reports, and the manager still refuses to act, he then has a case to go to labor relations or HR about his manager's failure to maintain a safe and productive workplace. He's going to have to be a long distance runner metaphor on this one. It takes time to paper someone out of a federal job, but it is the only way to move up without losing his soul to the disastrous decisions of upper management. So I thought those are pretty constructive, and some of the specifics about the invisible manager, where you're not ordering people to do things. It's the position requires. I think that is a great, very specific use of a language that can avoid, maybe even avoid some conflicts, because it's not. It removes that I'm not telling you to do anything. The position requires, and it's, hey, I didn't even probably put you in this position. You applied for this position. You agreed to take this position on. The position requires the machine be cleared. Are you going to do it? Yes or no? Very simple. That ain't no drama. I mean, that drama is over with real quick. Yes or no? And then I'm gone. Show is over. Like, it ain't no, what? That position, and see, that's over. That it ain't no, he didn't do no name calling. He didn't get upset. I was looking for that vein to be bulging out of his forehead and him start sweating, and it ain't do none of that. It was, matter of fact, I didn't even really get turned around. I was doing my work, and I thought they was going to go, and by the time I got turned around good, he was walking away. Like, man. I'm gonna have to get back to work now. I ain't even got nothing. Cause I guess you said no. Oh, okay. Ain't nothing. ain't even nothing to talk about. Man, guess I get back to that's what we want. No drama. No drama. Very simple. Yes. No, I thought that was brilliant. No audience, brilliant as well. Because a lot of time these performances, for whatever, and I've heard a lot of us even say it sometimes on the live program, we think we're saving face. If you are a victim of white supremacy, ain't no face to save. You can't pretty up being a victim of white supremacy. I mean, come on. Come on. Much obliged for the, oh, and we even got an update. We even got an update because I said this kind of overlapped so much that, you know, we were kind of crisscrossing on the emails here. I was like, man, I was thinking about you. Okay, so she responded. She said, great suggestions from you and the bot. I will definitely forward this response to him. I've spoken to him regarding documentation. Has he done it? Question. That's the documentation, man. And it doesn't really take a very long time, especially if you got your phone, like 10 times out of 9, that's the way I meant to say it, we have our phone on us, even on the job. Yes? Okay. You got your phone. I think our caller at the courthouse and others, great illustrations. You can make a folder, on your phone very easy. Whip that date. Time. You're not writing a book. This is not a 500-page dissertation. This might be a paragraph, maybe 2, if a whole lot was said. It shouldn't be no whole lot. Date, time, who was there, exactly what they said. What did you say? Which, like that's why I said, this shouldn't be very long because you didn't do no whole lot of talking. Can you repeat that? I said, can you repeat that? And that's it. And you go and do your documentation. Document that way, and consistent. Document, formal report, boom, boom, boom. Write that up, save that. You have it at your access, not on a work device or what have you that you could lose if you get fired, or even if they just take it from you, you know. But document so that you have a record of misconduct, what's been happening. Think of it as doing your job as a supervisor. Not sure if he's done the documentation, but she will check. What is interesting is that prior to him becoming a supervisor, he was a union representative. Unfortunately, when a union representative becomes a supervisor in the post office, they tend to leave behind the very thing that can support them in their new position, the union's policy and procedure. We victims of racism, like that is mandatory. Policy and procedure is violated all the time, and especially if you're a manager, like, oh my goodness, you are the one that's supposed to know policy and procedure better than almost anyone. So policy and procedure, like mandatory. Even if you're not a manager, it's still mandatory as victims of racism, because that's going to help you a lot, or be used against you, maybe both. I especially appreciate the use of language, the language productivity and safety. I often use safety when I'm documenting a work-related issue. The post office where we work is, as the bot stated, heavily unionized, led black space within a larger dominated white structure. What the H? What? This is, I mean, why? She works there, so it wasn't a, wow, what does that mean? I mean, oh, yep, that's exactly what, like, dang, that, see, that whole dynamic, that shouldn't be no, whoa, I didn't know, you need to know that before you get there. They do a lot of racial showcasing at the U.S. Post Office. It might look like Obama, but no. This is the plantation. It might look like you got some power, but the man, the woman, they still in charge at the post office, and no policy and procedure. He continues. She continues. It is somewhat difficult for non-white people at the post office not to be emotional or to take situations personal. That is probably due to the anti-blackness, which is quite often on full display. That is like us all day long. Every job, seemingly all over the world, we struggle to not be emotional. Dare I say, if I could put it, take away the negative so I can be, we struggle to be logical. We struggle to be logical, and we take situations personal. We have spoken about this move to become a supervisor and the many challenges he will be faced with, mostly racism, two of them being the employees and upper management. The biggest challenge would come from upper management. We have both been on the job long enough to see upper management go from competence to incompetence, so the lack of backup from management should be well understood, but he seems surprised every time he is not backed up. See that we got to be honest with ourselves. See there? Gotta be. Hey, system of white supremacy racism. Racial showcasing. I already know what it is. The other challenge would be defiance from the employees, although I have spoken with him regarding racism, white supremacy, and the ill treatment that would come from both upper management and the employees. I do not believe he fully grasped what was being said. So, everything he thought he knew only confused him. Thank you, Neely Fuller Jr. There is an agreement with the bot that the managers at the UPS display an inordinate amount of cowardice. The employees get a bit nostalgic about how it used to be when defiance from the employees was not tolerated and upper management backed their supervisor. I remind them that upper management used to be white and the employees knew their insubordination would have them out of that facility quickly. Woo, that is so are we MAGA, really? Sure wish we had the good old days. We didn't have no Negro suit. I hate old Leroy. I'm wounded. Carter G. Woodson, miseducation of the Negro is painful. We'll be a little bit closer to replacing white supremacy with justice. That book is obsolete. They can put it, enshrine it in the Smithsonian and say, wow, he really did. He was on his assignment. The great Carter G. Woodson. He helped us and all that, but we made progress. We light years beyond all that. Now, that's madness. Can you believe that? A black supervisor, and I'm not going to listen to no black. What the saying? You better put a white person in charge. I'm not going to listen unless you put a white. Can you imagine that? We were that crazy. White people drove us crazy. We are about to take care of this problem, but apparently we are a long way from that moment in time. There is agreement. Oh, got that part. AI done the policy and procedure, which now seems to be ignored. Now the employees do what they want, how they want. Why? Because their so-called supervisors are generally non-white and powerless. Whew. Wow. Anyway, hopefully this will be of some assistance to you. I can't say that enough. Document. If you're a supervisor, you should be documenting anyway. That way you'll have material when you have to do your evaluations and all that, employee performance, your people that you are supposed to be managing, right? So you should be documenting anyway. Document, and then you'll have a record of non-compliant failure to adhere to the duties and responsibilities of the position. Much obliged. The email again, untiljustice@gmail.com. Folks who dialed in with a hand up, Mama C, Double O Dimples, non-Clemson grad, and Bay Area mom, both should be with us. *61. Other folks have commentary.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
All right. First, I want to start by asking, Did I hear a white man reference an African proverb at the beginning of the broadcast? Maybe I was hearing things.
He did, Mr. Freeman. He said, it's when the elephants fight, the ants get crushed.
Interesting. I know that proverb slightly differently. When elephants fight, only the grass gets hurt. But interesting indeed. All right, so let's see. The only advice for workplace violence is to avoid unnecessary conflicts. I usually try to de-escalate and speak as little as possible and leave workplace encounters where conflict with a coworker can lead to violence. Nevertheless, you have every right to defend yourself. On a side note, we've been in our new work building for over 2 years, and we still haven't had a fire drill. I talked to the department administrator, the department administrative assistant, and she said and she's the fire drill coordinator. She hasn't been fully trained and joked about not getting trained if someone calls a bomb threat into the building. I told her to ask the potential caller when they would potentially do something, so we could simply all just leave the building. Though I was joking, I think we both took that joke very seriously. I applied for a project management job and got rejected, and they said I'd be a better fit as a technical staff. Thinking back to the interview, one of the 3 interviewers asked me about my technical skills, and I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. I should have pivoted the question and talk about my leadership and entrepreneurial skills. I've gotten some advice from some friends and colleagues, Black. I now updated my resume to emphasize my leadership and entrepreneurial skills, and even more, and removed all my technical skills. This way, potential interviewers have less of an opportunity to ask me about my technical skills and should focus on my leadership and entrepreneurial skills. Nevertheless, I admit that the process, not getting a job, is disappointing and frustrating. I'll continue to focus my energy on improving myself and getting ready for the second attempt at my certification exam in June. I feel more prepared, but I'll continue to still study until my exam in June. Last week, I was at a peer exchange. One of the presenters talked about putting out a request for information, an RFI, and how to do work. Answering this RFI was not a guarantee of receiving pay or work. My friend and I talk about these types of situations, and we agree that offering people free advice is ill-advised. Companies, governments, and organizations use RFIs to crowdsource ideas without paying people for their ideas. Today, I received another email from another job position, non-managerial, saying that they decided to eliminate the position. It's been in the news that companies are posting fake jobs. And with that, I'll mute my line.
Much obliged, non-Clemson grad. Good luck, all of us here at the C.O.W.S. Good luck on the certification in June. I'm sure valedictorian will do great. It's been prepping and all the rest of it. So sending good energy, good scholarly energy for your June attempt. Success, we'll say. Success. Great, what shall I say, refinement. He was telling us about his effort to be manager of this new project. And they said, well, no, you have more of the technical skills. And he said, I revised my resume, removed all of my tech skills, which are plentiful, and emphasized leadership. Excellent. And he even said, I will change how I answer that question in the future. Hopefully, I'll minimize the opportunity with my new spiffy resume. I'll minimize the likelihood that they'll ask me about all my myriad of tech experiences. They'll be more likely to ask me about leadership. But if they do, I'm still going to pivot the question back to leadership. I am managerial material. Brilliant. Love it. I think he even said he spoke with some of his colleagues about that. Refinements, edits. Always great if you have folks that you can speak to that are like specifically in your field, maybe even some folks who are a little bit older than you, so they have a little bit more experience, already gone through some of the things that you've yet to encounter in your career, give you a little bit of insight, help shift it. Just brilliant. Let's see. He said they eliminated the position. That I don't think he's old enough, non-Clemson grad, for the age bracket where they were talking about, oh man, you got these, old fogies that are 45 and all that. Get out of here. Get on out of here and get us some. I don't think he's quite there, but like, oh man, we eliminated that position. Like, we're not even. Standard operating procedure. I even mentioned that they've been posting the fake jobs, which I've been seeing that as well. These, whether it's scams or whatever it is, but the fake job posting is kind of luring people in and getting them excited, and then nothing. So, not surprised there. Just seems like he seems like one of the more skilled employees that they have, and consistently he gets passed over for other folks. He even told us sometimes folks who seem like they don't have very much experience or know-how at all, much less ambition, get up and go. He's trying to go out and get new skills and everything else. Just tackiness abounds. Bravo on not being discouraged with all of that, and certification in tune. Like, bravo, not letting them crush your spirit and motivation to go out there and do constructive things, man. Excellent to hear. Non-Clemson grad. And we did get the, I guess, remixed African proverb. Bay Area Mom, if you had commentary to share, should be with us also.
Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Greetings to you and everyone on the call. Okay, so it's the last, tomorrow's the 1st, so we got another month of school. It's about the time where everybody's, letting you know if they plan to stay. You're going to get these letters, if you can stay. There's a lot of people, trying to move up in different positions. Going from teachers to be maybe vice principals. A lot of the white people that are vice principals are friends. The white, and then there's the ones that speak Spanish. They're all friends. They're all flicked up. Every year, like last year, I remember some of the white people, I don't know, back, but there's not a lot of places that you can go to and do the work that you do, and then not really be held accountable for, the lack of education that the children get. So I get it. While you stay, you come here, then you just transfer all around to the different schools that this company has. So that's what seems like is going on. As I watch it, it was a different look for me last year because I really didn't know what was going on. And as I'm here another year, I put together what's going on or not going on. And like I always stated, we're below average in reading, not a level in math. They write like second and third graders write like kindergartners. Penmanship is awful. They don't spell correctly. Comprehension is not the best. A lot of us don't understand English or read English, so that's a mess. And they're just stating like we do a lot of testing, but sometimes I think the kids are just pushing buttons because you can't read. And if you can read, you can't comprehend to understand what they're asking you. So I requested to do summer school because I have this child. He'll be going in third grade, and I need him to go to summer school. I need him to go to summer school because he will lose everything that we've instilled in him throughout the year. So I don't want him to lose everything. So if he comes to summer school, he'll still be in the, the role of going to school. Every day it'll just be less people, a lot less, but he's still doing the repetition, going back, the routine. It's a lot relaxed, but he's still in the routine. And I can't trust anybody else because they lost him when he was in first grade. They lost him. They didn't know where he was, so he only went one day. So because I guess they're trying to put it together, and I'm the only one there I'm the only one at the school that's going to work the summer with my work ethic. So they need my style of working, especially for the last 2 weeks of summer school, because there's nobody there. There's no administrators team there. Nobody's there. Just us. The people, there's someone that's there that's maybe running it, that's in an administrative position, but they're the ones that just pop in and pop out, pop, pop, pop. Like the little Nigerian lady would say, you don't work. So she's the one that doesn't work, and she'll be there, but she's not there. She's a body maybe on campus, maybe might come set the alarm, but I have the alarm code. So we'll see how it goes as far as summer. I don't know how it's even with pay. I don't know if I'll be through the agency that I am or through them. Doesn't really matter. They know, so they're getting rid of all of the paraeducators through agencies or anybody that's working through an agency. They're getting rid of all of them. This is one gentleman. He's working with this little young man. I remember he may have said that he didn't enjoy being black. When he does bad stuff, he'll say it's the black in him that makes him do the bad things. This was when he was in second grade. He's in third grade now. So he has a heavily melanated educator, or whatever they're calling the people that are roaming around with these kids. And they're getting rid of him. So he's not coming back. Even though he works for the company, not through an agency or anything, he works for the company, they're not keep bringing him back. They're getting rid of him. Now, I don't know who is going to be with this boy, because he did a wonderful work with this boy. He's not howling, screaming, fighting, hitting you. Because, he's not doing any of that stuff. He's very calm. Now, in the beginning, breaking him in, getting him used to the system that he was running. It was a lot. He jumping there, I hate you, you need to be fired. Little boy, heck fun. But he got into the groove, and then last summer, I set him up on a different program, especially a reward system program. I totally changed his reward system program, even though I don't work with him, but I had him in after school. So because I'm connected with the behavior department, I'm able to communicate, say what I need to say, and have them in behavior put stuff in motion. So it might go around other people, but it still happens. It's like, what the hell is she? Who's it? Oh, but it works. And then his mom, no, I want him working with her. So I work from a distance with her son, and it works great. Even the gentleman, it works great, but they don't want him there. So because they're so anti-male, they're particularly black males, one of the ladies is one of the, I hate men, because when I first started working there, her and the lady that's going to be VP, the little lesbian lady that's going to be VP, vice principal or whatever, this coming school year, I was cleaning the classroom because they use us a lot to do a lot of little custodian tasks. They have us, do these CDs. We're doing a lot of stuff that the custodians could do, but they're just keeping us busy on the we're on the clock, busy, because the stuff needs to be done. Now they're going to have the floor stripped and waxed, because they complained about last year. So they're going to have the floor stripped and waxed. Okay, well, thanks. You should have had that. It should have already happened. The school's been here for over 100 years, so I don't want to hear it. So they're going to finally do that. So now that everybody's trying to find their positions, I remember speaking about a little boy. He's in middle school now, but he used to roll around with a luggage, rain boots, little rain jacket, and that's how he would roam around. He's smart, but he has a lot of issues. A lot of those black children have a lot of issues that aren't necessarily being addressed. And everybody's doing a lot of different tasks that isn't even your job description, but you got to fill in the blanks. Since that gentleman quit, the one who was mad about Black History Month and them taking all his pictures, or trying to take down the Clarence Commons. It's been tricky. there. With him not there, even though he agitated them with that, he was needed in that space, and now he's not there. He needed to be there. He probably could have did a better decision, because I told him don't just leave like that, but he didn't listen. But he had to deal with that not listening part of it too, because that wasn't the best move. Because you weren't going to get fired. You probably would have. You could have got a write-up after you talked to the lady, maybe, but you wouldn't have got fired, and you could still just coasted the rest of the year out. Or if you just couldn't take it, at least put in a 2-week notice. I don't know, it just looks different, especially because you want to come back to the company if you have different leadership. So, but it puts the load on somebody else. So somebody else has to fill his space, and they don't want to actually pay anybody to do it. So the people that were with the one with 160 pounds, they brought those two back, maybe just fill in certain spaces. And they'll hire just other people in general, but they put a lot of the load on the gentleman now. Everybody does not know, but his mother is the C.O.W.S, or the CPO of the where we were, right? Everybody doesn't know. I know. Everybody doesn't know. So they put all that load on him to deal with what the gentleman wasn't, he wasn't there to do it. So they gave him one of his kids who doesn't listen. They're awful, but the way they pacify him. So the way the kids are set up, they're pacified all the way through, pacified, and then when it's time to go, they're just like, oh, well, what you going to do to me? You can't do nothing to me. You let me get away with this. You let me get away with this. So now the kids are just crashing out. So what I've been doing, because I do morning care and aftercare, you get to talking all crazy to me, that's okay. I'll just call your parent. And that's what I do. And I've been there almost 2 years, so I've had about enough. So I'll just call your mom. I don't care. They care. They care. So that's what I do. And I'm not all, I just let them know, the expectations of what we're doing in morning care, because there are expectations that things are supposed to do. I'm not making this up. This is how it's supposed to go. I'm not picking on anybody. And we need to be treated. The kids just so sassy and saucy. They want to be like the baddies. Even the young men. There's one little young man, his mama don't know that he came out, but he's come out as gay. His mama told me a week ago she don't want him hanging out with the girls, because that's why he's at that school now. Because when he's hanging out with the little girls, he intends to adopt their characteristics. And then they're not just girls playing, jack or anything double dutch. These girls are, B. And you this, and they send the news. The mom came up there yesterday for one of her truant. She's coming to talk about one of her little truant sons that can't read, that's up at our school, that needs somebody to roam around with him all day long because he don't want to work. So she's coming to have a meeting with the principal, because another one of the little truants sending little naked test shots and stuff. So it's with that anti-sexual culture that we have there. So even with Pride, we have Pride, but we hold it. So Pride starts in June. We wait till August or September, and that's when we celebrate it. So we're not missing Pride. We just hold up until the kids come back. And then we have our Pride Parade, and love is love, and gay is okay, and all that. And it's never self-pride, never black pride, never nothing, never proud of, being having excellent penmanship, none of that. Love is love, gay is gay, everyone is equal. It's that. And now that ICE is popular, because we had to do an ICE march maybe a couple of months ago. I like my ice melted. I like my ice with soda. That's the kind of stuff, we had going on. And because a lot of our kids, they're coming from somewhere, Arabia, and Mexico or something like that. So, and then, there's us. And our parades are love is love, which is gay. So we're underrepresented. The people that could care about us don't, because they're not there. We're babied and pacified with little things just to keep us calm, so we're not embarrassing them, and they can do their work and get paid and go home, and they're not learning anything. And we're not helping them mentally. We're not helping them with any of their issues. One parent had to make their kid not go to speech because the speech therapist asking the little kid questions about, what's your mom? Would you want to know what your mom was like? Because his mom died when he was a baby. Now, you ever think about your mom? What your mom was like? What's your dad do? She told me his dad be smoking and drinking in the car and all this stuff. So if she told me that, she told other people, and he also told his dad. So now he doesn't talk. He doesn't even communicate when he goes to speech. So now that's a problem. So, and then we have a lot of white counselors or white people asking our black kids these intrusive questions that have nothing to do with speech. Tuesday, speech. But what you're doing is asking him personal questions that have nothing to do with your task at work. So now it's just a big mess. So he's in 4th grade now. I'm sure he's going to come back there. He might go to the lower school because where else can you go and start middle school in 5th grade? There's not a lot of places. So it's just tricky. So just want to share that. And and fun fact. So the gentleman, the lady, the transgender lady, she merges with this other little girl. She's a Yemen girl, so it'd be the girls against the boys. Now, mind you, this transgender person is about 30-some years old. Just had a birthday. Maybe we didn't celebrate it because we were on break. But this transgender person is grown, nice man foot, kicking soccer balls all the way to the other city. Deep voice, all this. So, okay, we're going to play girls against the boys. So, grown man, and it's big old 4th grader girl, and these 2 boys. These 2 little boys. And it's like, yeah, girls are winning. Duh, Leadfoot. I bet the girls are winning. You're in there kicking those balls and stuff. So he kicked the ball into the little young gentleman whose mom is CPO. He kicked the gentleman in the testicles. And they're like, oh, it was an accident, so sorry. Ew. And then gonna say, that's trans to get back. And I'll mute my line. Okay, thank you.
Man. What to say? Man, Huey Newton rolling over in his grave. Speaking of privileged, deceased Oakland Bay Area legends, do you recall, now I'm asking you to go way back to like the first years of Obama in the White House, so if your memory is not perfect, that is not a crime. But do you recall if the school that you were working at the time, or any of the other schools in the area, do you recall if they went out as a school or as a classroom and participated in any marches or rallies for Oscar Grant?
Sorry, I was muted. So no, they did not. No, that was not happening in 2008. No.
Okay. Retired firefighter, he just mentioned that they showed Ryan Coogler's Fruitvale Station to the young fellas that he works with, and that's what it's about, the shooting death of Oscar Grant at the BART Fruitvale Station. She said she didn't remember them going as a class to, I'm just comparing the ICE protests. Oscar Grant's killing was a big deal, at least across the continent. I think people, hey, Fruitvale Station, Michael B. Jordan. Anyway, but they marched for ICE. Black male privilege. She talked about the penmanship or lack thereof, and say, well, maybe be easy on the penmanship. Not all of us have the best handwriting skills. We
Leroy and Gus T didn't always win best penmanship in the class. I'm sensitive about that one. She unfortunately reminded us of the problems with the reading level in the school. And what I said, like, dang, I wouldn't care if they're transgender. They got to be about the anti-sex and the pride. Like, even if we're going to do the pride parade, you do need to know how to spell pride, yes? Why can't we get a plan together to help these little folks read better? Like, they're in elementary school. Like, this is the time to correct that. Are we waiting until they get to high school? Wait till it's GED time? Like, what? Come on. Even the priorities. Why is all the anti-sex, why is that more important than the reading? Penmanship even, so you can write pretty. At least be legible. Priorities, man. But Fuller talked about that all the time. Priorities. And the priorities not being dedicated to helping these children. She's talked about the difference between her motivations, dedication with these, really exact opposite approach. Let's get a plan together. Even the way that she deals with some of the more challenging students, which that's what you already know it's going to be a population of students with special needs. So, hey, we need some of our brain computer. That's why we spent all those years in school, right? We have all these wealth of techniques to deal with students and improve their behavior and maybe even teach them a few things here and there. This is the young fella is going to be defiant. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to read. Where's my phone? And all the rest of it. No. Well, all right. Well, guess I'll let your mother know. I don't care. You tell her. Oh, he does care. Like, it's going to be consequence. I know that would get my attention from most of the children that I've been around. Like, you going to do it? Whoa. Let's not get carried away. What we supposed to be doing? Okay. All right. Jesus, can't even take a joke in here. And then we get back to what we supposed to be doing. A few techniques. Doesn't have to be antagonistic and brawl. Get some things done. Help these young folks learn. Use some of that teaching we spend all that money and time and energy on for, right? She said they got the teacher there, all the anti-sex. She said, I hate men. Now that one I remember. Now, in that environment with all the non-white little folks that she tells us about, especially little black dudes and non-white males in general, and even the instructor, I do remember that when she told us about the black male. They were going to take down Clarence Thomas's picture. He was upset about it. Said, I can't, because I remember I said, like, man, maybe you can just see if you can stay through spring break, because we were right there. Like, just see if you can stay to spring break, and then if you really feel like I can't do it, forget it. Put your, leave in or whatever. But just see if you tough at the end of the year is almost there, like. And could, but I do remember that one. And I remember the racist suspected race soldier stabbing it. I hate men. She probably hated him too. And Clarence Thomas. I do not remember the second grader saying, I don't enjoy being black. That one seems like one that I could just, I'm lame and my memory is bad, but I do not remember that at all. And she's saying when he messes up or can't get something correct, it's the black in me. Like, wow. I would hope my brain is not feeling me that bad that I just forgot that detail, but dang, I'm going to remember it now. Man, we have not been on our assignment. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, child psychiatrist. I mean, wow. Tell me what and I bet you that's a little person that watches a lot of television. Like, I'm sure it's a whole lot else there too, but this does not seem like someone, I just been reading books and, I go outside, get a little fresh air. Like, oh no, you get a lot of screen time to be talking second grade. Now, I mean, this could be somebody that's 7. She said got a lot of melanin. I bet you. 10 times out of 9, I bet you ask, do you have a television at home? 10 times out of 9, I guarantee you he is not going to say no. Whew. We have not been on our assignment. If that's the black in you, when you do something bad, when you do something good, what is that? Ugh.
Gus.
Ugh. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
His mother used to go to the same school, but in a different state, right? And she's an attorney now. And I forgot what the dad does, but he's on the spectrum, and he's a Jewish white male. Yes. Yes, so so she kind of directs him. So she got to guide him around, too. He doesn't drive, so he'll catch the Uber when it's his turn day to pick. They all live in the same house. And, yes, he does have screen time. But when that self-hate came about, I'm the one that brought it out, because he's been having self-hate, but there's nobody saying anything. I'm the one that said something to the Muslim counselor and the BCBA and his mom. So he would hurt himself. He would do stuff to himself to why he hate the black on him. The black makes him bad. So even when he draws, like the black male that they're going to get rid of in June, when he draws pictures, like everybody draws a character, his character, make yourself into a character, he's white, the little boy, and he's in 3rd grade now. So when they remove him, I wonder who's going to be with him and how his behavior will be now, thereafter, because he would hit and beat up all the people that he had until this black man. He had another guy that he went to go to law school, this gentleman that had him for a few months last year. But yes, he has he does not like the skin he's in, and without the help of the black people that are there, he would still be doing worse. So I'll mute my line and thank you.
Context of white supremacy. When you play around with sex. Well, that is deflating. Wow, we have not been on our assignment. And that's one, too, because I mean that really. They have books and everything. That should not, and even beyond just that child, that should not be allowed to be said in a classroom. There are other black children there. That impacts their brain computer. Like, oh my gosh, like that's the black in you is why you did that? Ugh. I don't want to get the black. I don't get that in me. Ooh. Come on. And we're saturated with all that anti-blackness, as she said. So, man, that all of the, why is this being allowed? That's what she said before. Like, are we really concerned about these children? Is that what we're doing? Is that our job? Or we get ready for the pride parade? Pay off these college loans. Wow, that is disgraceful. The young fellas not getting their issues, or the young people, period, they are not getting their issues addressed. That is pretty much all of the non-white people in the known universe. So, I mean, the treatment of the non-white children there reflects how non-white people are treated throughout the known universe. Again, I thought it was spectacular advice about the not arguing. That could be used with these young students and or other folks. Just, okay, you're not going to do it. Not an issue. As a student, this is what you're obligated to do. So I guess I'll have to make a report to your mom that you're not going to do any work today. But hey, that's your choice. Which is true. Just making a report. That's all. And they Continue making your choice. You're not going to work today. Okay. Duly noted. No argument, and they can make their choices. Well, a lot of times, that is enough. You don't have to argue. Nothing else need to be said. I'm going to get to work. Make sure we don't need to tell mother nothing today. I was being a good boy. What he's trying to. The nudes on the phone. Again, there would be lots of reasons. Wait as long as you can. Wait as long as you can before you give the child a phone. We're in elementary school, so, 8, 7, 9, 10. I don't think any of these folks needs a smartphone. Maybe a dumb phone. There might be an emergency they can touch. Okay, got that. But, man, hey, dumb phone, we don't have all these nudes and such. Wait as long as you possibly can. And then if you're going to give them a phone, checking it all the time. No secrets. I know all the passwords. This Dill Reb. You might have anarchist cookbook on the phone. We got pipe bombs in the linen drawer or something. So, no, no secrets. You check the phone. You wait as long as possible. Man, I didn't hear even anything constructive around really any of it. It was all just non-constructive. And, man, I mean, if this is our counter-racist effort at this point, again, we have not been on our assignment. And when you have all this for the young people, this is why you catch us as we are older in the workplace, and it's total chaos. That's why you have 20-year-olds pulling firearms over onion rings and beverages. Can't even say over water cups and onion rings. Much obliged, Bay Area Mom. Star 61, other folks, if you have commentary to share. I did want to get in our non-Clemson grad when he shared before. I missed the portion where he talked about the lack of fire drills. That is massively important. Now, hopefully, to the creator, there won't have a fire. Won't be needed, but I mean, hey, that is really serious. Accidents, tragedies do happen for a variety of reasons. That is important, especially he said they moved to a new building. Like, hey, this is beyond just an accident or a tragedy. This is something you might have people who I don't know where all of the exits are. We haven't really been here and just trying to get settled in. I haven't taken a big tour to walk the whole facility to pick, oh, okay, door right there, right there. Hopefully we'll never need it, but just in case. Disgruntled employee, who knows? Bam, exit right there. Like, that is critical information. She said the bomb threat, disgruntled white person. That isn't funny. In the month of Columbine, Boston bombing, lots of those to pick from in Bomberman month. Definitely not funny. And hey, even I'm in Washington State. We have 5 volcanoes in Washington State. They have volcano evacuation routes, earthquake drill. They have the earthquake drills in California as well. That is serious. Those sorts of tragedies and whatnot, they do happen. Let's make sure we are safety. Keep coming back. Safety, and it is so common that that metaphor they'll use, it cut corners. We do not take safety seriously and end up potentially putting people in jeopardy. So that's I would stay on that. Let's get that fire drill done. Very important. Let's get that fire drill done. Don't want to keep procrastinating about that and then mess around and then something happens and oh man, wish we had got that fire drill done. I remember, matter of fact, reminded me of Columbine. They had a substitute teacher. I believe it was in Tennessee. They had a school shooting. Substitute teacher, she did not know how to lock the door to the classroom. They had an active live shooter. Those drills are very important, potentially life-saving. Much obliged. Let's see. *61, other folks who have commentary. I think we can get some of the other emails in as we proceed here. Let's see. Email number 2. Greetings, Mr. Renegade callers, listeners. I'm dealing with an insubordinate employee who is a white man, race soldier. He doesn't even have suspect up there. He accused me of being disrespectful towards him. Uh-oh, you might be reverse racism. So you mistreat him because he's white, see? In my most recent one-on-one meeting with my manager, he mentioned that this employee had informed my manager's manager that I had been disrespectful. That's kind of a vague charge. My manager, who is a privileged black male, requested evidence documentation to support the accusations. When the employee submitted the written communications I had with him, my manager's manager reviewed them and determined that all the communications were professional and courteous. I think this employee's actions are in response to my correction of his work. Uh-oh. I was reviewing his work recently and noticed some errors that he was making. I arranged a meeting with him, a more experienced employee who does the same work he does, and myself, to discuss how the work needed to be done and what the expectations were. I also arranged for him to consult with this more experienced employee if he had any questions or needed assistance. I wonder if this more experienced employee was white or non-white, because that's, if you're going to have two colored boys come and tell me I'm incompetent, don't know how to do my job, like, man. He continues. Also, there was a realignment of the work groups recently. He previously reported to another race soldier. Now he reports to me, a privileged black male. I'm sure he is so excited about that. This employee works in a different location from me, and my manager said that the next time that I visit that location, that I should arrange a meeting to discuss with him the problems he had with the way I communicated with him. Having previously been a victim of race soldier sabotage in the workplace, I am very concerned that this is occurring again, especially with this race soldier. I'm eager to address the situation with this problematic individual so that these attacks won't occur again. I would appreciate any suggestions that you, the callers, and listeners may have on how to address this issue with that employee and my managers. It seems like we have dealt with a lot of this. The young lady who is being sabotaged, the neurodivergent right-wing Ashley, and that was black on black crime, so to speak, with the post office. But we've had a number of these situations. Black person with a white subordinate. I would say if you can get the more experienced employee as a witness, if you can get them back, if not him, I know Mr. Fuller has talked about this, having someone just to observe, not to come and they're going to echo and kind of repeat whatever you say. Not at all. They're just here to observe. If it's that employee, he's there to observe and then offer any assistance and helping out, expertise, since he's been doing this job longer. But I would want someone else there just to make sure that there's no dispute about what I said, my tone, my nonverbals, which I would also, just if there's going to be that much scrutiny, I would definitely face, tone, all of that in terms of talking. And again, I would even go back to what the bot said about just the expectation and specifically the writing and the reports of this position and what's expected in these reports. This is not, I'm telling you, it's just this is what is expected of these reports. We have resources here that can help you make sure the reports are done in a correct manner. If you need any assistance, don't hesitate to ask myself. You have another employee right here, more senior than yourself, who could be happy to aid in this process. But yeah, just let us know. This is not a condemnation. This is helping you improve. Even asking, you want to do better, improve at this job? Yes. You're trying to learn? Yes. Hey, me too. We're all still learning, and this is one resource to improve. Anything else? Anything incorrect about that? Wanting to improve? And do you think you are doing the reports perfectly, or do you think there might be room for progress, improvement? Yes? Okay. This is the way we can make that happen. And yeah, this is not in any way, shouldn't be taken as a talking down to you or what have you. I am still making errors. I'm still learning. Growth is important. That's the way that I would try and approach it, but I would want someone else there and be very, anytime if it's someone classified as white, and it's a black person, I say especially a black male, but black person, period, and you're correcting them where they have done something incorrect, oh man, buddy, it might end up being something like this where everything you did was totally correct, totally professional, as your manager stated, manager's manager, I believe, totally correct, totally courteous, totally professional, nothing wrong with it at all. Might be the textbook way that you manage an employee and get them to make the appropriate changes to a written report. Oh my, you Leroy and talked to me and got it, and oh, he's so uppity and rude, and oh, and it's a disgrace the way that. What? Well, you did have some errors there, so maybe he was just letting you know that 5 plus 5 is not 15. Maybe. They get upset. He don't tell me it's not 15. I tell him what. You don't tell me it's not 15. I get upset about that. This is one where document. Examine. I would follow up per email. You have your witness to document who was there. Even see if you can record. Since there's been, an allegation about your presentation, if witness, record, and then as soon as the meeting is done, I would follow up with an email. I might even CC the manager, your manager, or whomever else, this is what we discussed regarding the reports, and this is exact. The reports are required to be written in a certain way. This is what's required of the position, and we talked about everyone working to learn and improve. Who should have a problem with that? That's not unprofessional. That's not discourteous. It'd be a quick summation of what we talked about, and I try to get exact verbiage about improvement and what is required of these reports, so it's not a personal attack. That's not the way it was presented at all. And that helps your position. And like I said, having a witness too, that help, and if you can have it recorded, great. Then you could send the whole recording so you are all the way through lock, stock, protected against any, even though it sounds like you don't need a lot of protection, because it sounds like the way that you talked to them the first time around when they reviewed it was perfect. So yeah, I would just make sure now it's documented, have a witness if I can, and then the follow-up email to just summarize, this is what we talked about per action plan, and we were all on board with getting things done in a constructive manner. Asked if there were any concerns during the communication, so they have an opportunity to verbalize if they don't feel heard or they feel something could be done in a better way. Say so. We can make that improvement as we go. But I would expect that white genetic annihilation, Fuller talked about this exactly, and he said you have white people where they get self-destructive, and even I lose interest in even wanting to do this job. I got to answer to some colored boy. This black boy is correcting me. I'm done. I don't even want to be here, man. What? This is what my life has become. Answer to a colored boy 40 hours a week. Him tell me I'm not up to snuff, the colored boy. That's your opioid crisis. White genetic annihilation. But Fuller talked about this specific, like verbatim, said he saw it on the job, all of it. So just that same thing we said at the post office. Document relentlessly. And I would work, not only would I work to make sure you have a witness, I would work to minimize talking to this employee where it's not either electronically or where other people are present. So it can't be, it was just he and I, and so he can say whatever he wants to, and that's just his word against my word. Oh no, I want there to be other people, so there is, we got other corroborating testimony about exactly what was said. So it's not going to be, wow, he said that he told you good morning, and maybe we could talk later about your progress with the reports. And we got old Tom over here alleging that you cursed at him and said he was a no-count chicken white man. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Come on. So we don't have nothing like that. We'll have somebody else who heard and or a electronic record of exactly what I said. And it's not even remotely close to, all the rest of it. But yeah, just be cautious, document, and then document some more. Email is great. If you do have any sort of verbal communique, even I know, so like I said, since we got the phone on us all the time, if it's, you stop by his office or vice versa, he stops by your office or what have you, some people, even if it's a quick, 30-second, 2-minute conversation, you're going to do XYZ or do XYZ or change this or whatever it is, they will do that email follow-up right there while the person is still in their face. I'm just sending you an email to confirm what we just spoke about, and it'll just, be a quick sentence, maybe 2 or 3. Boom, boom, boom. The time is already there. The date is already there. Bam. And same thing. That way it helps. You have immediate confirmation of what we talked about, so it's not dang, he sent an email and it doesn't say all this about the cursing and all that. Well, he just didn't put that in the email. You got immediate document, and that even helps because it shows from the email you weren't rowdy and cursing in the email, so wow, they calmed down enough to send an email. Within the conversation, they calmed down enough to send the professional, courteous email, even though they were foaming at the mouth and cursing you verbally. That's contradictory. Document ruthlessly. And then I would try to have a witness, like I said, somebody else present, so it's not just he and I talking in behind a closed door. It's just us and nobody else. I'd really try to minimize that as best you can, if feasible. Any additional suggestions for our person who wrote in? Any additional tips on that one? Supervising a race soldier who's going to lie and accuse you of anything? Any other folks? This one has come up so much. Folks can feel free to email. We'll be back next week if you come up with any tips. If you've been in this predicament and you figured out, this works well. If you have to supervise a race soldier, this works well to protect yourself, minimize conflict. Please share untiljustice@gmail.com. We will revisit for next Thursday. We'll be here Friday. Catherine Massey Book Club, Session 3. Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow, 4th Worst Book Gus T has ever read. And then Sunday, May 1. Is that May 1? I think that's May 1. I have to double check. But Saturday, we'll be here Saturday is May 2. There we go. Saturday, the Counter-Racist Weekly Review. We will catch up on what has transpired over the past 7 days on the global plantation system of white supremacy. That said, much obliged for everyone tuning in, writing in, hopefully worthy of your Thursday evening. Sobriety would be best. We need high-functioning brain computers. All of the terrorism that we experience in the workplace, man, we need new strategies to get this, make some progress from Carter G. Woodson, so we are not stuck. We get to 2,300. Black people, they don't like no black super. Like, come on. That is mighty depressing. Creator, we ask, remind us Stop saying not all white people are racist. Remind us, stop name-calling people classified as black. Even Clarence Thomas? Even Clarence Thomas. It has been time. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Cow signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. You're a victim. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning. Shut up. The man has programmed my conditioning. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.